All day through, yeah. On my mind, Georgia, a song of you. Having a little technical difficulties. Hold on. All right, we're back. Nope, we're not back. Sunday, people. We're trying to get this whole thing right. At least you had some easy jams to listen to. You know the thing. The whole time I was trying to get my mouse wasn't working, and I just was like, It's Georgia. On my, don't forget to drink your Zima on this lovely Sunday night, noon, depending on where you live. This is the Derek O'Shea Show. Welcome to the revolution. Oh. We're back. I'm just glad we got this whole thing working again. You know what I mean? I was worried that I was gonna have to redo my whole stream. You know how things go. How are you guys doing today? Christ, sorry. I hope you're doing good. Papa, what's good? Sounds like a pleasant as explosive case of food poisoning on an airplane. Oh, dare you? It was beautiful. It sounds like Christmas. Yes. Are you talking about my voice? Or are you talking about that song? The debate starts in about 8 minutes. I have it queued up on a couple of different websites. We have backups as always, because last time we did this Georgia debate, it just shut down in the middle of the debate. I don't know if you guys remember. It just stopped working. And the flu has broken out in the plane as well. So it's like, who the Democrats are going to be running Michelle Obama in 2024 with Hillary? Dear God, Could you only imagine that? I don't know if you caught SNL last night, but they made fun of all the Democrat candidates that are currently in the running for potential win for re-election or whatever, or for 2024 rather, as a candidate. It was pretty funny. They're all freaking out. Come on, man. Dude, I am alive too. Oh, alive and good to be here. I'm almost ready to finish the debate season, but at the same time, I enjoy the debates because it's free, ridiculous content. So, what are you gonna do? Camera. One of these days, I'll get a real camera. Did I watch SNL? Come on, man. What's that kind of question? My bad. Yeah, I can't help it, man. I'm addicted. It's like one of these days I feel like they're going to come good. I don't believe it, but you never know. All right, so I got it queued up. We got some funny videos to start off with too. Is Paul Pelosi's hammer called the Nutcracker? Dude, I don't even know what to think about that. Here's the thing. I did that video on Paul Pelosi for the exact reason why so many people are jumping all over the case and assuming they know exactly what's happening. Like, you have no idea. You don't know what happened, and we're just all assuming these things, and because it fits our narrative. I mean, I saw the big Twitch streamer Hassan Piker. I saw him just like talking about the whole thing, and hold on, I gotta show some of Papa's tweets. I mean his him in the chat box. Papa, YouTube is censoring you right now. I saw a good video. On the subject. I'll send you a link. Yeah, it better be mine. I'm just kidding. They've made this kind of hard to find. Okay, I got it up. Good. All right. It better work. That's all I'm saying. We got some let's start to switch to live chat. What's live chat? I think I have live chat. Will the full debate be broadcast here, Jason? Yes. Yes, it will be. Sometimes Facebook is kind of finicky. So if you want a clearer stream, go to YouTube or Rumble. For some reason, Facebook has been acting very weird whenever I host debates. So, but I got it queued up.
I'm running because I believe in what
They don't like make finding this debate very easy. I don't know why they do that, you know? It's almost like they don't want you to know about these candidates. They just make it so hard. If you're not from the area, they just kind of make it a pain in the butt to be able to find the debate. And like last time, it just kind of shut off in the middle at the top of the chat box instead of top chat. At the top of chat box instead of top chat. Oh. Okay. I didn't know it was a thing. Thank you. Thank you, Massa. I just switched. Hey, see? That's why we're a community. We need each other because we can't do this alone. Never do it alone. There we go. Oh. Man, this whole time, what a boomer. That's it. I'll just see myself out. Who's going to win? I'm not sure, Jason. Last time, Stacey Abrams seemed pretty strong, regardless of how I think of her. Kemp seemed kind of weak and scared. But I don't know. Who'd you guys pick? I put a pull up. 44% said Kemp and 56 said no one will win. Sent you a link. It's a good video. Okay. I will check it out. Watch. A great concert. Redwood tax special. Okay. No, Stacey Abrams doesn't look like a gem. Nobody has. Wait, what did you send me the video on, Papa? Curious. But the debate starts in 3 minutes. before the debate starts, I want to know your thoughts on this. What do you do in this situation? All right, what do you do in this situation? You just ordered food, and then the food delivery guy comes out and gives you the food. What do you do in that situation? Do you say that you got it? I mean, the food delivery guy's like, I gave it to you. It's in your hand. Drop. God, I'd be so mad. Oh, it's about Paul Pelosi's investigation? Okay, I'll check that out. What do you even do in that situation? Feifei, what's up? Aloha. Folding laundry and listening? Awesome. I just did my laundry as well. Sundays are a good day for laundry. Run away screaming, vengeance is mine. Yes. Seriously though, I would be so mad. Especially if you're like excited about the food. Just like, here's your food, ma'am. Okay, thanks. Yay! I'd be so mad. But let's before the debate starts, let's check on some Atlanta news. You know, it's important.
Police. Bro, did you break into a house? Did you burglarize a house?
Hell no. Bro, get away from the car, bro. I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk.
We were talking before. You were just talking to these officers.
But I don't want to talk to you, though.
Did you break into a house?
No.
Okay, well, why are you in custody, though?
I don't know.
You don't know. You have no idea why you've been arrested.
No idea, sir. Why you got hair coming out your nose? I'm just
I have hair coming out of my nose and...
I'm just bullshitting. Nah, I ain't breaking no house, though, man.
You didn't break into any house?
What channel this is?
Channel 2.
Channel 2, ask dude. Hey, man. Y'all
You want to say anything to your mom or anything like that, or anyone you know?
My bad, Mom. My bad. I'll be home in a couple days.
Dude, okay, it just came out. It was the newest video uploaded on this channel too. It might be the same guy. It literally, yeah, it's old. I just wanted to, but you always got to check on this. Yeah, it's only 4 years old, but it's still fun. All right, we're waiting for this debate to start. Where? Okay. It looks like they're already having loading problems. But I got it queued up. You know, they're always like very slow on these.
Good luck.
Okay. Here we go. It hasn't started yet. All right, now it's starting to start. I've never seen actual bars on Copper Windows.
It's on the ballot. Governor Brian Kemp is seeking a second term.
And that's what I'm going to stay focused on, is putting Georgians first.
And in a rematch of the 2018 election, Democrat Stacey Abrams is hoping.
See? I knew their feeds would be all janky. What? Isn't that unreal? What is going on? All right, I'm going to reload this. Hold on. Their feeds are always so bad. It's completely frozen on their website. They're already trying to like ruin this election. All right, I'm going to look up backups for this. This is ridiculous. You know, that's kind of unreal that it's already frozen on their website. It's not me. Swear. You might think it's me, but you have no idea.
Abrams.
I'm running because I believe.
Nope, that's a promo. All right, well, it's frozen on their website. Let's look for it. I'm going to look for it on YouTube. If you guys find it on YouTube, let me know. Looks like it's restarting. All right, now it's back. We got it.
Public Affairs Director Candace Presley and Univision Atlanta anchor Michelle Benitez.
Let's
Look how
begin
crappy
tonight
that
with opening
website looked.
statements.
I mean, that
Each
feed
candidate
looks.
will have 90 seconds. We determine the order through a coin toss. So, Governor Kemp, if you'll start.
Well, thank you.
It just froze again. What is... It's not me. My internet is blazing. What is... All right, I'm going to find this on WSB TV. This is unreal. You can't have Georgia debate without Hot Guy. I know, where is Hot Guy? I don't even know if he's going to be here tonight.
It's a case that...
Unreal. Let's turn the quality down. No, it's not. It's their website. All right, here we go. See, their website is like frozen. This is what happens if you... Yeah, I just checked my speed. I still have... My download rate is at 750. I mean, I got blazing speed. It's not me. Come on. I will find it. I will find it. Gamer of Threes and Hot Guy. I did too. It's like...
Are a choice.
Okay.
A choice between where we are and where we want to be. What does the next 4 years look like?
Found it.
In this Georgia, right now, people are feeling economic pain. And unfortunately, under this governor, the pain is only getting worse. But I look forward to leading a Georgia where everyone has the opportunity. 1,000 Georgians during COVID to make sure they our right to be secure in our persons, our right to control our bodies, our right to be safe, and our right to vote. This election is indeed a choice.
Turn down their quality.
And I look at my record and the record of the governor.
This is the worst. God, we're gonna find a different stream. I knew this would be terrible. I'm sorry, guys. I failed you. Hey, bro. Hope you're good. Hey, John. What's up, man? How's it going?
Here to hear the questions that we know are on the minds of Georgians. Tonight's debate guidelines are very straightforward. Each candidate will have 90 seconds for a response to a question and roughly 45 seconds for rebuttals. So let's get underway. And we'll start with inflation. And we know that Georgians are hurting with the...
That's it. All right, I'm searching for that. I just feel like I just don't want to hear people talking over it.
Question and roughly 45 seconds.
In 36 other states.
In
fact,
rebuttals.
The problem is that Georgia has some of the lowest.
Let's get underway. And we'll start with inflation. And we know that Georgians are hurting with the crippling inflation. So the question to each of you, please, is what can a governor do? What would you do, please be specific where you can, or continue to do as governor to help Georgians right away? And we'll start with Ms. Abrams.
Thank you. The economic pain people are feeling, it's real. And inflation is actually worse here in Georgia than in 36 other states. In fact, the problem is that Georgia has some of the lowest wages in the nation. And because of that, we need a governor who's going to use her power to focus on the cost that a governor can control, tackling affordable housing, which this governor has refused to do, tackling the issue of health care cost. If we expand Medicaid in the state of Georgia and accept the $3.5 billion to which we are entitled, we will lower health care costs for every Georgian. It has worked in 38 other states, and it will work here in the state of Georgia. We can make certain that families can afford to send their children to school, whether it's pre-K, K through 12, or making sure they can go on to college and technical college by making technical college free again. But we also have the responsibility of understanding what is driving jobs away from Georgia. Under this governor, we've lost $150 million in investment. Music Midtown pulled out. We lost the MLB game. We know that the entertainment industry is thinking about leaving Georgia because of the abortion ban that is driving women away. And we know that this is a governor who has refused to do right by our people. As governor, I will not only lower costs, I will put more money into the pockets of working Georgians, of middle-class Georgians. But what I will not do is give tax cuts to the wealthy and the powerful. I will focus on our workers and our small businesses, putting them first, making sure that especially our minority-owned businesses and our rural businesses get access to contracts. A record $10.9 billion is coming to Georgia, and as governor, I'll make sure the money is spent fairly.
Governor Kemp, what can a governor do right away to help Georgians?
Well, listen, it's not just what we can do right away, it's what we've been doing. And this is why I want to stay focused on what my record has been, but also what my vision is for the future. Americans are hurting right now because of a disastrous policy agenda by Joe Biden and the Democrats that have complete control in Washington, D.C. Thankfully in Georgia, because we were open even when Ms. Abrams didn't want us to be, our economy has been incredibly resilient. We've had 2 record years for economic development in a row, record number of investment, record number of jobs, and people's salaries are going up. The problem is they're not going up fast enough to keep up with Joe Biden's inflation, which is why I worked with the General Assembly and the leadership last year to return $1 billion of your taxpayer money to you, to put into your pocket, to help you when you go to the grocery store, because eggs are 30% higher, milk and poultry is 15 and 17% higher. But we also did other things. We have suspended the gas tax since March, saving every Georgian 29 cents a gallon every time they fill up, to just help them fight through the 40-year high Biden inflation. We also cut taxes last year, largest income tax cut in Georgia state history last year, because we were open, our economy was resilient, and we were seeing record revenue. In the future, we want to do the tax rebate again, do it again in January to put another $1 billion back in your pocket, and also do a one-time property tax relief grant to help Georgians deal with the rising property tax values when their commissioners at home are not rolling the millage rate back.
To each of you, we know from our viewers
How dare you say that,
in addition to the economy, crime is top of mind. We know Atlanta is experiencing record violent crime right now. People do not feel safe gassing up their cars, going to a mall, or going out for a run. So, Governor, what have you done? What can you do more? And Ms. Abrams, I'll ask, what might you do as well?
It's the feed
I would just say
found.
again, look at my record. You know, this is going back to 2018. I was the candidate in that race that ran on a platform to go after street gangs and drug cartels, because I knew it was a problem when a lot of other people made fun of that issue. They said, oh, this is just your normal Republican, you know, talking about being tough on crime. But if you visit every county in our state, all 159 of them like I have, and talked to sheriffs and prosecutors and others, I knew there was a gang problem. And that's why I ran with a very straightforward agenda to create a gang task force at the Georgia Bureau of Investigation to join with the locals to help them in prosecution and locking up gang members, going after those that are selling dope on our street and killing our kids and our community members, and we've done that. But we've also been in the fight with locals when we had civil unrest, when we had unruly people that were literally trying to burn our capital city down. This past session, we gave our Attorney General more powers to go after street gangs because of, quite honestly, local DAs that don't want to prosecute gangs. So we're taking that fight into our own hands, and I appreciate the support of the General Assembly to put more resources at the...
Okay. I got this feed where I was about... Oh, of course. As soon as I press play, I was about to go crazy with the dinging.
To the perpetrators and supporting the victims, many which are women and children.
Leader Abrams, what would you do to help people feel safer?
First, I would encourage people to indeed look at the governor's record. Under his 4 years, violent crime has gone up. Gun violence has gone up. Guns are the #1 killer of our children. We have the 9th highest gun violence rate in the nation. Family violence with guns has gone up 18% under this governor. And his response was to weaken gun laws in the state of Georgia and eliminate a background check that kept thousands of guns off of our streets and out of the hands of dangerous people. We must indeed tackle the issue of street gangs. But this is a statewide challenge, and we have a governor who's only focusing on parts of the issue.
The feed is the only one I could find. I know, me too.
Holistically about what we need to do.
I don't get how he has
it
so well.
To ensure that our children are on a school to success pipeline and are not being drawn into street gangs because they lack access to resources in their schools. This is a governor who slashed $1 billion from education
we're just rolling with it.
in 2019 and only restored funding to education when federal Democrats delivered dollars to the state of Georgia. We need a governor who's going to be a partner with local governments, not attack them for trying to do their jobs. And we need a governor who understands that we must have stability in housing, access to health care, and that our law enforcement cannot be the #1 provider of mental health support in the state of Georgia.
I'm sorry, guys, but the dings and the fart noises are not
being distracted because they've got to put people in jail for being sick instead of going after dangerous people. I want to expand Medicaid to put money into the pockets of Georgians, but also put resources in the hands of law enforcement. I want to make certain that our violent crime goes down by strengthening our gun laws and making certain that we are protecting our communities across the state.
Governor, rebuttal.
Yes, look, I would just like to make sure folks at home know that it looks like this debate's going to be a lot like the last one.
If this is going to be a crazy stream, I might as well dress for it.
She doesn't want to talk about her own record. We are not the local police department. You know, I'm not the mayor. I'm the governor. I'm in charge of the state police force. We are working with the locals to go after violent crime, and we'll continue to do that. But the point here is Ms. Abrams that has said that she wants to defund the police. She wants to eliminate cash bail and have get-out-of-jail-free cards. She continues to serve on the boards of organizations like the Margaret Casey Foundation that actually raises money and gives grants to organizations that support and promote the defund the police movement. There are 107 sheriffs across this state that are supporting my campaign because they know I will have their back. They also know that I will be on the front line standing beside them to go after violent criminals, street racers, street gangs, and human traffickers.
Heck yeah, Brett.
Yes.
First and foremost, yes, local police are responsible for 90% of law enforcement. And this governor 4 years ago said it was not his job to help local police make certain that they had fully funded opportunities. It would cost $136 million to provide additional funds to our local police officers so they can make certain they're protecting our communities instead of working 2 jobs to take care of their families. We need a governor who understands that local governments need help now. And that, yes, while street gangs are important, so is the violent crime being perpetrated by dangerous people who have access to weapons because of Brian Kemp. I believe in public safety. I did not say, and nor do I believe in defunding the police. He is lying again. And I've never said that I believe in defunding the police. I believe in public safety and accountability. And I would have you look at my record. 11 years in the state legislature, 11 years serving on
I don't even know who T.J. Miller is.
Committee, working with law enforcement, working with our Sheriff's Association, working with local governments. And I'm the only person standing here who's ever actually written standards of operating procedure for police departments because I know what they need. And they need a governor who will invest in local officers as well as statewide enforcement.
She wants to tell cops how to do their jobs.
On this topic.
Yeah, well, I would tell people to please check the record because we have given state law enforcement pay
Just wait,
raises.
Faye.
We did one
Be
this
patient.
past year. We did law enforcement grants of $1,000 to local law enforcement when many other counties and local jurisdictions wouldn't do that with federal COVID money, showing our appreciation for our men and women in law enforcement. And I would tell you to go check the record because Ms. Abrams on CNN got asked the question, would she defund the police? And she said, yes, we have to reallocate resources. That means defunding the police. She proposed in 2018 eliminating cash bail. Men and women in law enforcement know who is going to be with them.
It is schizophrenia, a little bit of schizophrenia.
Continue to have their back, and that is me. And that's why we have the endorsement of 107 sheriffs around this state.
As I've pointed out before, I'm not a member of the Good Old Boys Club. So no, I don't have 107 sheriffs who want to be able to take black people off the streets, who want to be able to go without accountability. I don't believe every sheriff wants that, but I do know that we need a governor who believes in both defending law enforcement, but also defending the people of Georgia. I have 2 brothers. One who's committed crimes and one who is a social worker trying to help keep people from committing crimes. But my brother who commits crime should be held accountable. But my other brother should never be pulled over for driving while black. And yet in this Georgia, he is. I'm running for governor because we lead complicated lives. And we need a governor who's willing to hold law enforcement accountable, but also be supportive. And yes, pay raises have been given to state law enforcement, but local law enforcement are experiencing shortages that are not being funded by this governor. And federal COVID money as a bonus is not the same as a plan for their investment. And I'm the only one with a clear plan to invest in local law enforcement going forward.
Thank you. Let's turn to our panel, please, and Channel 2 political reporter Richard Elliott.
This is a question for both candidates. Along with the economy and crime, the other one of the major issues is abortion. And Governor, I want to ask you first, while the overturning of Roe v. Wade and the subsequent implementation of the Georgia heartbeat law has support in conservative circles,
make sure to drink your Zima tonight.
It does not have the support of a majority of Georgians. And they worry that the legislature may seek more restrictions this coming year. Can you say now whether you will push for more restrictions, support legislative efforts to create more restrictions, or sign any bill into law that would further restrict abortions?
Well, I would tell people that we passed the heartbeat bill 3 years ago. We are a state that values life. I understand people disagree on when that issue may be comfortable for them or not. They've known my position for 10 years, and I've been honest and transparent with them. But also, we've done a lot of other things to protect life in this state that everyone does agree with. We've done bipartisan foster care reform, adoption reform to make it more affordable and cut out bureaucratic red tape so that people can adopt a child in this state. We passed a landmark Mental Health Parity Act this past year, broad, unanimous, bipartisan support to deal with issues and suicides and other things out there to get people the care that they need, valuing life in our state. We've done the same thing back in 2019 when we did school security grants long before the tragedy in Uvalde, Texas, to make sure that we're valuing the life of our children and our educators in the classroom and keeping them safe. And so, you know, I understand that people can disagree on policy, but at least people know where I have been. I've been consistent, I've been transparent, I've done the exact things I said I could do, and I think that's a good reason for people to re-elect me. I mean, nobody's going to agree with the governor every single time on every single issue, but at least I've been transparent. But I will tell you, my focus in the future, going into the next session, is going to be on helping Georgians fight through 40-year high inflation.
Let me press you a bit on that. If the legislature passes a more restrictive abortion law,
adoption process is the worst.
Would you sign that?
It should be cheap.
Well, I'm not going to count on, you know, say yes or no to any specific piece of legislation without actually seeing exactly what it's doing. It's not my desire to go move the needle any further on this issue. We've been dealing with this issue for 3 years. That's where the General Assembly was. I personally don't see a need to go back, but when you're governor, you have to deal with all kind of legislative issues that are out there. So we'll look at those when the time comes. But again, my focus is going to be on helping Georgians fight through the 40-year high Joe Biden inflation that's been caused by disastrous policies in Washington, D.C. And we're going to be, our first order of business is going to do another tax rebate, to do property tax relief, to help Georgians to be able to cope with going to the grocery store or the gas pump.
So let's be clear, he did not say he wouldn't. We know that he has praised the Texas bounty system that allows neighbors to make $10,000 by reporting on women. We know that under the law that he signed, women can be investigated for miscarriages and other pregnancy losses, and that 52 counties have said that they indeed will pursue those investigations because they don't think they have a choice. We know that under this governor, women are in danger. Georgia is already #1 for maternal mortality.
Fart noise get me every time.
It is only going
like
to get
5 years
worse
old.
when women are forced to carry pregnancies, when 1 in 5 women in Georgia does not have health insurance before pregnancy, will be compelled to carry that pregnancy to term. And while there has indeed been improvements in Medicaid to provide access for women during pregnancy, on the first birthday of that child, that health care goes away. Brian Kemp does not have a plan for the lives of the women who are being forced to carry pregnancies to term.
I need to get a soundboard.
But more importantly,
that's on my next to buy list. If you want to support my show, go to buymeacoffee.com so I can get a soundboard.
He defended Herschel Walker, saying that he didn't want to be involved in the personal life of his running mate, but he doesn't mind being involved in the personal lives and the personal medical choices of women in Georgia. What's the difference? Well, I would say it's the equipment. And I will tell you that as women in Georgia, we should listen very carefully to the fact that this governor has not only refused to protect you, he simply said he hasn't heard how bad it can get before he decides if he's going to do anything to help.
You crazy as hell. Stacey refuses to protect the baby.
What?
As the next governor of Georgia, I will repeal HB 481, and I know we can do it because it only passed by 1 vote in the House, 3 votes in the Senate, and the women of Georgia and good men are going to stand with them to make sure that I'm the governor.
Every time it's Georgia, it's the Georgia streams. They're terrible.
To the women of Georgia.
Oh, super chat. Oh, I appreciate it. If you want to send a super chat, you just go to buymeacoffee.com.
Let me just say, Justin,
it's in the link in the description.
Again, Miss Abrams attacking my record.
And it pops up like a super chat. It's all fine.
I would ask Georgians to ask for the facts on this legislation. If they don't have the facts, they should contact our campaign office. We will be glad to see you. Women are not going to be prosecuted under this piece of legislation. Doctors that perform illegal abortions would be. The thing is, Miss Abrams continues to attack my record because she doesn't know, she can't tell you what her record is. She's changed it 3 different times during this campaign, saying, you know, she wouldn't answer the question when she first got interviewed. Then her campaign came back, said she's for illegal abortion at viability, and then answered again. It's between the doctor and the women.
It is Al Gore. It sounds like Al Gore.
7 months or 8 months. If the doctor says okay, then you can get the abortion. Well, you know, if somebody paid a doctor enough, then there may be people out there that give them the go-ahead. I think that's just a tragic situation myself. I understand my views may be different than other people, but that's what the legislative debate was all about. But for her just to misrepresent what's in the legislation is just, it's not being truthful to you.
I'm being absolutely honest, and so are the 11 district attorneys representing 52 counties. So are the sheriffs who said that they believe that the way they read the law, they would indeed be required to investigate. For those of you who don't do the law as a daily job, remember the show Law and Order. There's the law where they do the investigation and the order where they do the prosecution. What we are saying and what the law says is that in order to determine whether a woman's going to be prosecuted, she has to be investigated. And this is true. It happened in Texas, which has an identical law. We know that in Georgia, women are not safe from investigation.
You know, money.
I have a sister who had a miscarriage.
I'll rap battle
I was there the night that she lost her child. And I was there when she got when she had to talk about the nurse who called to ask her about the state of her pregnancy twice. The trauma that women undergo after miscarriage should not be minimized, and it should not be investigated. But more importantly, in the state of Georgia, we have a governor who does not believe in a woman's right to choose. I have always been consistent. Since I became a legislator, I've been strongly consistent and very clear about my position. Abortion is a medical decision. It is a decision that should be made between a doctor and a woman. It should only be a doctor and a woman, not a politician who makes this decision.
And the baby. Don't forget about the baby. Yeah, that thing's got feelings too, lady.
And I believe that a woman who makes a decision to have an abortion, if it happens late in her pregnancy, it is a traumatic experience. And it is deeply, deeply concerning to me that anyone would minimize what a woman is experiencing late in her pregnancy when she has to make a terrible decision. That decision should not be adjudicated
I'm glad you're laughing
by
at my
men
ridiculous
in the state legislature, but by a woman and her doctor. And that is what I will defend, and I will stand in that space and defend women with every breath in my body, especially as the next governor of the great state of Georgia.
And Leader Abrams, if I may, to be fair, with the question for you was, while polls show a majority of Georgians do support access to abortion rights, most also support some limits on it. What limits would you be okay with if you were governor?
Absolutely. As I have said, abortion is a medical choice. And as such, it should be that a woman has the ability to make a decision until viability. And that decision about viability should not impact her life or her health. That is a decision that should be made between a doctor and a woman as a medical choice. I said that on Fox. I said that on CNN. I said it on The View. I said it to Teen Vogue. I said it to Elle Magazine. I think anywhere you look, I've said it again and again. And it is willful ignorance or misleading lies that change what I've said. But what I've also always said is that there should not be arbitrary timelines set by men who do not understand biology. This is a law that tells women they have to make a decision about their pregnancy before they know they're pregnant. And in a state with 82 counties without an OBGYN, in a state where women are denied health care, when 1 out of every 5 women does not have access to medical insurance, it is a terribly dangerous position to put women in.
How dare you?
And
She's
it is
hot.
a position this governor will only put women in because he defends Herschel Walker but will not defend the women of Georgia.
Well, I would just say, for the record, you can go check this as well. There was a female state senator that actually carried this piece of legislation, so there were a lot of women that supported this bill. I understand people differ greatly on it. Again, Ms. Abrams failed to answer the question that was asked of her. But listen, I'm a husband and I'm a father to 3 daughters. I have been in the doctor's office with my wife and seen 2 heartbeats on an ultrasound. I've gone back a week or so later and saw 1 heartbeat. My wife and I have both had a hard time having our first child. She miscarried. It is a tragic, traumatic situation.
Tragic.
So that 1 heartbeat that we saw that second time we went back is our oldest daughter, Jarrett.
Ms. Abrams, one last comment and we'll move on. Yes, please.
I actually wanted a clarification of which question I failed to answer. I believe I was fairly thorough, but I will say this. The tragic stories of miscarriage should not be political fodder, but they should also not be fodder.
Everything's about abortion.
For
it's so boring.
And the problem with this bill is it does not discern the difference. It tells women that if you have a pregnancy loss, you can be subject to investigation so that law enforcement can determine whether it was a legal abortion, which is what a spontaneous
you're
abortion
killing
is.
me, dude.
That's what miscarriage is called. Or whether it was an illegal abortion, which should not be a term of art in the state of Georgia. Women deserve the right to control their bodies. They should not be worried about whether the knock on the door is a sheriff coming to ask them if they have had an illegal abortion. Abortion is medical care, and women are the only people in the state of Georgia being denied wholesale access to medical decision-making by the governor of Georgia, and that is wrong and should not be sustained.
Governor, 10 seconds, please.
Well, again, that's simply not true. And I hope that you will not let Ms. Abrams get away with this. Please fact-check the bill. Reach out to our campaign. We'll be glad to send you the facts.
Thank you. I'm up against a break. I assure our viewers we'll be covering many more topics. We're going to take a quick break right now. You're watching the WSB Governor's Debate live right here from our studios. We'll be back in 60 seconds.
How's everyone feeling now that we're on a debate, a break? Hope everyone's feeling good. So abortions are wholesale. What the hell does that even mean? I have no idea. Right? The abortion argument is always over dramatic, over emotional about everything, and it's always like the craziest circumstance. It's like, and it's never like an honest conversation either. That's what I think is the most annoying part about the whole thing. Is that you want an honest conversation about
the best state to do business,
abortion,
a lack of affordable housing, especially houses.
It's extreme on both sides. Yeah, of course.
Question is for both candidates. What is your plan to create more affordable housing here?
Are we back?
Governor Kemp.
Well, I would just tell people it's
that's quick.
You know, first I want to talk about my.
I found my stream this time.
$750 million in housing assistance grants over the last couple.
Nope. All right. We're sticking with the other stream, apparently. All right.
Live from our WSB TV studios here in Midtown Atlanta. So let's continue right now. And let's
bring on the fart noises.
WSB's Congress Presley for our next question.
Thank you, Justin. And thank you, candidates, for being with us tonight. While Georgia may be the best state to do business, a lack of affordable housing, especially houses at that $300,000 price point or below, the lack of those homes threaten to hinder Georgia's efforts to attract even more business to the state. As governor, what is your plan, and this question is for both candidates, what is your plan to create more affordable housing here? Governor Kemp?
Well, I would just tell people it's, you know, first I want to talk about my record. We've given out $750 million in housing assistance grants.
Did they say Trump?
Over the last couple of years. We also just completed over $100 million grant process so that people could make competitive grants to receive this funding.
Just seeing the word of the day.
Organizations like Habitat for Humanity in our hometown of Athens got one of those. They got a great product that they're doing to help with affordable housing issues. The other thing that you need to focus on is making sure that people have economic opportunity in all parts of our state. A lot of this deals with local zoning issues and other things that go on.
Make sure to drop a like on the stream, guys.
My focus is on making sure that people have a good paying job. The 2 historic years we've had for investment in jobs in our state, the projects that we're doing and probably 95% of the jobs that go with them are higher than the county average. Plus, they have good benefit packages, health insurance, 401ks, and other things, giving people the economic prosperity. And that's why we've seen wages go up in our state. We continue to be in the fight with locals right now on workforce housing and other things, Brazil, especially around our economic development projects in places like LaGrange, where the Hyundai project's going, up in northwest Georgia around the Roper plant and other places. But it's going to take a public-private partnership, state and local, to be able to do that.
First and foremost, the inability of local governments to address affordable housing is coming about because the state of Georgia will not allow them to. It is illegal in the state of Georgia for local governments to change certain laws. They are not permitted to enforce housing issues. They are not permitted to change certain financing issues. And they have turned to the government again and again for the last 20 years and been turned away by this governor and by this state legislature.
Got a lot of nice girls.
And we know that the money that has been deployed in the last few years is COVID money. Federal Democrats delivered that money, not Brian Kemp. And we know that he's currently sitting on more than $400 million in affordable housing assistance to stop evictions and refusing to deploy that money. There's a 60% rejection rate. WSB actually did a very fantastic story about it, so I encourage people to look it up. But let's understand that there are 4 issues in Georgia: affordability, inventory, gentrification, and homelessness. He does not have a plan to address any of those issues directly. By refusing to put money into the state budget to tackle these issues, he is not solving the problem. Piecemeal solutions and stopgap dollars does not mean that you have a plan. And Brian Kemp has failed to do anything on real estate except make money off of it as governor. He's made hundreds of thousands of dollars in real estate and recently told a black radio forum when he was asked whether he would allow local governments to tackle the issue of affordable housing through giving them more control over housing prices. He said no, he didn't want to upset investors. I'm not running for investors, I'm running for Georgians. And when 30% of the housing is being bought out by equity investors, we need a governor who's going to put Georgia families, Georgia workers, Georgia veterans, Georgia seniors first.
Well, obviously, again, Ms. Abrams continues to attack my record. She doesn't want to talk about her own. I did not say those things, by the way. It sounds to me like she wants to be able to run the private sector businesses that are out there. But listen, the federal money we were using is because our state was open when Stacey Abrams wanted more lockdowns. We didn't have to use federal money for lost revenues. We could pour that money back into local communities, which is what we've been doing for affordable housing, for rural broadband grants, for infrastructure grants, because we were open when Stacey Abrams criticized me for that decision, and people on both sides of the political aisle were. But you know what? I was fighting for you. I was going to simply give you the choice on whether you wanted to go back to work or not, whether your kids could go back to the classroom. She criticized that decision as well.
I'm happy to talk about my record. I paid off the medical debts of 68,000 Georgians who were trying to decide between whether they could afford health care or housing. I put Wi-Fi devices in 180 different communities, rural communities throughout Georgia,
herself.
Not using federal money, but raising money myself because I knew it was an issue. And I know that when it comes to COVID, we need someone who operates not with gambling with our lives, leading to 38,000 dead, including 1 in every 100 residents in Hancock County.
Exactly,
I simply urge caution. And we should want a governor who's going to put caution above political points. We should want a governor who wants to look at the science and understand what's going to happen with our families. Because yes, we wanted caution. No one wanted lockdowns. No one likes lockdowns. But we do want people to survive. And as we head into Unfortunately, yet another challenge in the state of Georgia, where we have RSV on the rise, 75% hospitalization rates in children's hospitals across the country, COVID resurging, we have the flu rising. We are about to lose a hospital in the state of Georgia, the 6th hospital under the same governor. The Atlanta Medical Center survived 120 years, but could not survive 4 years of Brian Kemp. We need a governor who puts priority on not only solving small issues, but thinks long-term about how do we invest in our people. And I want to take that $6 billion surplus that Georgians have provided and invest that money in housing, healthcare, education, and making a good living.
Send it back to the people.
Well, I'll just say, obviously, we're one new COVID variant away from Ms. Abrams wanting to lock our state down, because that's exactly what she said. The pressure on her, just like all the other liberal state governors that were out there locking their states down. You had liberal state governors and Democrats all around the country. Their kids were out of the classroom for a year longer than our state. You remember when Joe Biden made a big deal about the United States of America being back to pre-pandemic unemployment levels. Georgia did that 9 months before the rest of the country did, because we gave you the choice. Ms. Abrams doesn't want you to have a choice. She wanted to mandate the vaccine. She wanted to mandate masks. She sided with the National Teachers Union over you of getting your child back in the classroom. I have been fighting for you. I haven't worried about what other people are saying. I've been focused on the people of this state, making sure they could go to work and their child was in the classroom, and that's where the data and the science says they needed to be.
Ms. Abrams, a final word on this.
38,800 people died in the state of Georgia. We have one of the highest death rates in the nation. I didn't say we wanted to have lockdowns.
Jonathan Schaefer, thanks for being here, man.
And that's what I will always urge. When our lives are on the line, when our children's lives are on the line, we need caution. We need caution in our gun laws to make certain that dangerous people aren't allowed to have weapons. But this governor doesn't believe in caution.
We need to stop crimes before people commit crimes.
He believes in not taking responsibility. And he does not believe that we should have the responsibility to ensure that everyone has a chance to thrive. In the state of Georgia, yes, we reopen soon, but he passed a law to protect corporations by making it illegal for workers to sue their bosses if they didn't have access to protection. I will always stand on the side of Georgia workers, Georgia families, and Georgia children.
Give me access to protection.
I will always operate with caution, with science, and
you know
with
what I'm
common
talking
sense.
about.
No one wants lockdowns. No one wants to have to shut down the
access to
economy.
protection.
But we should never put anyone's life on the line just to be
access.
first.
Briefly.
Zima's hitting hard, man.
I need to have time to answer this whole gun, firearm question because she keeps bringing it up.
All right, let's talk guns.
We haven't asked, the question hasn't been asked. Let me tell you something. The law right now is the same as it was 2 years ago.
Ban murder. I'm for that.
Who can lawfully carry a weapon or not. For Ms. Abrams to say that the legislation that we signed to let you protect your family and your businesses through your Second Amendment rights is just absolutely not true. People that illegally can't carry guns, the law's the same as it was before constitutional carry passed. And I got news for you. The criminals, they don't care what the laws are. They already got the guns. The problem was law-abiding citizens couldn't get a dang permit from the local government because governments were shut down. They were slow paying the permitting process. The law is still the same that's out there. And all I'm doing is giving people the ability, if they would like to conceal carry to protect themselves, their property, and their families. And the record is that Ms. Abrams, when she was in the General Assembly, she co-sponsored legislation to actually confiscate your guns. So not even give you the ability to get the permit, she was going to come and take your guns. That's what people should be scared of.
Mr. Kemp, once again, is mischaracterizing what I've said and what I've done. At the time, we were talking about assault weapons after more children had been murdered in their classrooms and families were terrified for their future. I believe in making sure we can protect the Second Amendment and protect second graders. And Mr. Kemp apparently doesn't understand the gun laws in Georgia. Georgia had a background check that was part of the concealed carry permit law. 5,000 people were denied access to concealed carry permits because they went through that process. Law enforcement begged him not to eliminate the concealed carry permit because Georgia has some of the most porous laws in the nation when it comes to guns. We are a state that does not have a waiting period, which is why a young man was able to secure a weapon and kill 6 Asian women in 3 different locations in less than 2 hours. And in the same year, this governor tried to weaken gun laws again in response. Luckily, the Speaker of the House, a Republican, said no and denied that bill moving. But we have to have a governor in this state who understands that protecting the Second Amendment should not mean sacrificing Georgians. My great-grandmother taught me how to shoot. Her name was Moo Moo. I know that the person responsible for the weapon is the person holding it. But I also believe in trust but verify. And the only way to verify whether a person is lawful or not is to look at their background. Georgia does not require universal background checks. Through a private transfer or a gun show, you can escape and evade background checks unless the state of Georgia requires them. And so I'm simply asking that we do right by our children and right by our families. I've traveled this state, and the number of people who come up to me and tell me about gun violence in communities that have never seen it before because people have weapons, don't have training, don't have responsibility, and know there are no consequences, that makes all of us less safe, and we need a governor who's willing to put safety before the NRA.
Well, I would just remind people at home that there was actually sheriffs and law enforcement at the bill signing that supported this legislation. What Ms. Abrams is doing is trying to scare everybody at home. If you remember earlier, she talked about
whatever, Papa. What do you work at a gun store?
Well, Dragon Con was in Atlanta. They had twice as many people there. They didn't cancel. There was no issues. The Democratic National Committee right now is trying to land the Democratic Convention in the city of Atlanta in the state of Georgia. If things are so bad, why would that be the case?
NRA sucks.
There are over 20 states that have passed constitutional carry, giving law-abiding citizens their legal right to protect and defend themselves and to legally carry. When she's talking about all these other people, they're breaking the law. They're breaking the law because they don't care what the law is. And that's the people that have guns. The people that haven't been able to conceal carry are the ones that couldn't get a permit because of government bureaucracy and people like Ms. Abrams.
30 seconds, please.
Mr. Kemp doesn't understand the difference between a festival held in a public park where guns are allowed without having law enforcement investigate whether you have a weapon, or having an event in a secure private facility where they have the authority to keep weapons out. That's the difference. Dragon Con is inside. Music Midtown is outside. And because of Republicans in the last 20 years of weakening gun laws, we are less safe. And this isn't hyperbole. This isn't even my guess. This is statistics. This is math. And this is death. We have families that have Facebook pages about people walking past their schools, their kids' schools, carrying weapons, and the law enforcement can't do a thing about it because Republicans have weakened our gun laws so much that they can't even ask the question.
Thank you. Moving on now, please, to our panel. Our next question from Univision's Michelle Benitez.
Justin, we're going to keep talking about guns. For Hispanic voters, a top concern is safety, especially children's safety. And throughout the years, there have been bills that propose training for all Georgians in possession of firearms. Nominee Abrams, how would you ensure your own gun safety bills will become law through a General Assembly that would likely remain in control of the other party?
Sadly, because gun violence is so rampant in the state of Georgia, whether you're in Peachtree City or down in Albany or up in the Georgia mountains, gun violence is now so prevalent and so rampant that I believe Georgians, especially legislators, are willing to finally take action. And we've seen it we've seen this on the federal stage. Democrats and Republicans came together and finally passed common sense gun laws. Georgia is known as part of the lead pipeline. It is so terrible in Georgia when it comes to the weakened gun laws in the state that we were the subject of an episode of FBI Most Wanted. Because Georgia is so easy to get a gun and transfer a weapon. And while Mr. Kemp will say it's only people who are not law-abiding, everyone is law-abiding until they break the law. The issue is how do we minimize where weapons are, but also how do we encourage people to get the training they need? I learned how to use a weapon. I was trained how to use it. I've chosen not to carry one. But I want anyone who wants to have a gun to do so. But we should have the same set of responsibilities
how to use it, and then you don't
that
use
they
it?
have in other states.
I have a driver's license, but I never drive.
Reiterate that gun laws do not take guns away from criminals. They only take them away from law-abiding citizens. I should also note that I live in a constitutional carry state, which means you don't even need a permit to carry. And crime is low as hell here because everyone is polite. Because everyone is carrying.
Obvious point. Go back to the debate.
And in the state of Georgia, we do not have waiting periods. We do not have background.
We speak on that. But you know, 2 years ago during civil unrest, when we were on the ground and state law enforcement helping the locals keep the city of Atlanta from being burned down, and also making sure that the protesters that deserve the right to
Michelle Obama have guns
to speak their mind for injustice that they'd seen with their own eyes. There was people in that crowd walking with those people with AR-15s on their back, legally carrying weapons, and we had no problem.
You better vote
because
Dixon
we were working with them, and they were listening to us because they were law-abiding citizens. Also, you know, Dragon Con, there's 60,000 people walking in downtown Atlanta. They're on public spaces every day. They have the Athens Fest downtown in Athens on public spaces. Again, Ms. Abrams is trying to scare you at home about the constitutional carry legislation that would simply let you abide by your Second Amendment rights. And she doesn't want to talk about her co-sponsoring legislation that actually would confiscate your firearm, would confiscate the firearms of those individuals that were walking with those protesters 2 years ago.
I am happy to talk about my record, sir. I've done so repeatedly. But I've not been in office for the last 4 years, so I was not the governor when gun violence went up in the state of Georgia. I was not the governor when 6 Asian women were gunned down and you tried to pass even weaker gun laws in the state of Georgia. I was not the governor at the time when Music Midtown pulled out of the state, citing guns as one of the reasons, because they could not get artists to come because they were not able to secure their persons. Yes, people walk outside and they may make the choice to traverse our streets, but the companies that are hosting these events inside have very different rules and very different opportunities than those hosting events in public places. But what is most concerning to me is that you keep minimizing the death. People are dying from gun violence in the state of Georgia. Children are dying.
I think it was hurting my neck.
It is the number one killer of our children. And if I am asked to do something, I'm going to protect the Second Amendment, protect second graders, and pass common sense gun laws to defend the lives of Georgians. No matter who you are, you should feel free to be safe in your person, safe in your communities, and I will stand on my record to try to make that so every day of my life.
Thank you. Let's move to election integrity. Every day we know Georgia sets new records right now for early voting turnout. People are voting. More than 1.5 million Georgians at last count have already voted. So on the record tonight,
that means voter
right now
suppression.
In front of the state, I'm going to ask you all this question, a simple one. Will you support the results of this election even if they do not go your way?
Stacey.
Ms. Abrams, we'll start with you.
Yes.
Mr. Kemp.
Absolutely. Because we have laws in our state that makes it easy to vote and hard to cheat. Ms. Abrams has spent the last 2 years, really the last 10 years, running around telling you that's not the case. She's benefited personally from that running around and scaring people about suppressive votes and suppressive legislation. She filed suit, her group did file suit 4 years ago, cost Georgia taxpayers $6 million to defend Senate Bill 202, which an Obama-appointed judge threw out on every single count. In 2018, when I was elected, we had the largest African-American turnout in the country in our state. And we're seeing just now in the May primary, we had record turnout for Republicans and Democrats, and we're certainly seeing that during early voting. Ms. Abrams' pressure on Major League Baseball and woke corporate CEOs cost us the All-Star game. It's unbelievable she continues to blame me for that loss because it was her that was asking people to put pressure on Major League Baseball to move the All-Star game. And I've been fighting to make our economy great over the last 2 years, which it certainly has been. We had people from New York criticizing us about this bill. We had President Biden criticizing us about this bill. New York just started early voting this weekend. We've been early voting for 2 weeks in our state. So in Georgia, it's easy to vote and hard to cheat, and I'm committed to keeping it that way. And I'm the one that's been truthful and honest with you from day one about all of these issues.
Wasn't that supposed to be a yes or no question?
He's been honest. He has spent 16 years attacking the right to vote in Georgia. 8 years as Secretary of State, where he held 50,000 voters hostage, 70% of whom were African American. He erroneously removed 360,000 people from the rolls during one of his infamous purges.
That sounds insane.
Our lawsuit was not against SB 202. It was a lawsuit based on the 2018 election and based on that lawsuit, we saw dramatic changes to voting laws in the state of Georgia. And I am proud of that lawsuit. That lawsuit compelled the state of Georgia in 2019 to fix our absentee ballot rules, to address challenges with the exact match issue, to address issues with purging. And by doing so, we saw record turnout in 2020 and 2021. And what Brian Kemp said was that he was upset about the results of that election.
Lying dog-faced
Tony
Soldier.
wasn't upset. He knows there was no fraud. He was upset about the results. And the only results he could have been upset about was the record turnout of black and brown voters, of seniors, of young people, of people who were being kept out of the system. I am proud that I've spent 30 years of my life defending the right to vote, defending access to the right to vote.
Yeah.
The right to vote is sacred to me. My father was arrested at the age of 14 helping to get black people registered to vote. And it is an abomination that SB 202, a law that has allowed racist, white supremacists to challenge the legal authority of citizens to vote, is being held up as some sort of native good.
Get over yourself.
It is a terrible law that has already sent people home from the polls, people who were denied the right to vote. The fact that people are voting is in spite of SB 202, not because of it. It was never about making sure that we had fair elections in Georgia. It was about gaming the election for Brian Kemp so he could keep people out of the polling place. And I am proud of every Georgian who is showing up every day to make your voices heard.
Well, again, that's just simply not true. Ms. Abrams knows that. When I was Secretary of State, I created one of the first in the country full online voter registration where people could go to our website on their phone, register to vote 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, not even have to talk to anybody to be able to do that. I've pushed more accessibility for our elections. She never talks about Senate Bill 202. We actually added days for people to vote on the weekend. I had a guy that texted me his voter sticker today. He said it was the coolest thing. I went to Mass and then I went and voted for you. So for Ms. Abrams to continue to try to manipulate and scare people at home and get them to believe that this is a state where it's hard to vote in is just outrageous.
Yes, I have noticed that, Bob.
And things that we have done to keep our rolls, our voter rolls secure in the state, it's required under the Help America Vote Act, federal legislation. And yes, I was upset about the results of the election because Democrats won all races and they have all three branches of government in Washington, D.C., and it's led to 40-year high inflation, a disaster at the gas pump because of bad domestic energy policy, a disaster at the border where every governor like myself is dealing with fentanyl overdoses.
I think they didn't even invite the Libertarian because he doesn't have a chance of winning.
And that's what I'll continue to fight against.
Ms. Abrams, if you could have a brief response before we get to closing statements.
Let's be clear that the voter suppression that I'm talking about is being felt by Georgians every single day. There was a college student who was turned away from the polls because of SB 202 because she was challenged. No one could tell her what the challenge was, just that she didn't have the right to vote. She could have voted a provisional ballot, but she didn't want to because she didn't know that her vote would be secure. There's an 87-year-old who could not get her absentee ballot for her husband because the process is now so much more complicated.
60% of your comments are being ghosted.
And I've spent this year traveling the state talking to disabled voters who are so upset because of the new hurdles they have to traverse. SB 202 was not designed for voters. It was designed for politicians, and unfortunately, for too many, it's working.
Thank you. It is now time for our closing statements tonight. The hour flew by, didn't it? Each candidate will have 90 seconds, and once again, we determined the order for a coin toss. First, Leader Abrams.
Well, I want to thank Georgians for listening tonight, and I want you to know that I am ready to get to work for you on day one. I have the skills and the track record to get the job done. Under Brian Kemp's 4 years in governor, crime has gone up, 6 hospitals have closed, housing prices are skyrocketing, and communities are in turmoil. They are worried about their rights and they are worried about their futures. But I want to do better by Georgians. I want to put you first every single day. I want to be the leader who invests our $6.6 billion surplus, money brought to this state by hardworking Georgians and by federal Democrats who stepped up to serve all of us. I want to expand Medicaid, bringing home our $3.5 billion a year so that our veterans get access to health care who are currently being denied, that our seniors who are a few years shy of Medicare need and get the help that they need. I want to eliminate the disability waiting list with 7,000 people on it who are being held in institutions instead of in their homes. I want to defend us against danger by strengthening our gun laws, but I also want to defend our rights as women by eliminating the abortion ban and restoring a woman's right to control her body. I've spent the last 15 years as a state leader. I've spent my life as someone who believes in doing right by people. I was raised by my parents to do right. And what we need today is for you to do right. I'm asking for your trust and your vote. I'm asking for you to go to stacyabrams.com/vote to learn how to vote early. And I want you to know that polls do not see you, but I do. And the only poll that matters is the poll at the ballot box. Thank you so much.
Well, first of all, I want to thank WSB for having us tonight. Thank the panelists for your questions. You know, when I ran for governor, I made a very simple promise to people. I told them I would put them first, ahead of the status quo and the politically correct. Shortly after I was sworn in, I promised all Georgians I'd work hard every day for them as their governor, whether they voted for me or not. And that's exactly what I've done. I'm so optimistic about the future of our state. We have the lowest unemployment rate in the history of our state. We got the most people ever working in the history of our state. And we're seeing economic opportunity, no matter your zip code or your neighborhood, because we've been focused on strengthening rural Georgia and many other things. Unfortunately, Stacey Abrams said, we live in the worst state
I know
in the
the poll results look good.
Well, Marty, Jarrett, Lucy, Amy Porter, and I, we don't believe that.
There's always trolls in my
We
chat.
believe we live in the greatest state in the country to live, work, and raise our families.
Veterans
and that's why
are
I'm
denied
asking for
healthcare.
your vote and support on and
1-800
before November
Tam Tam,
8th
what's up?
to keep it that way. Thanks again for having me. I'd be honored to have your vote. God bless.
Thank you both on behalf of Georgia voters. Thank you both very much for being here with us tonight at WSB.
First Big Mama.
And this wraps our time. Early voting continues through Friday, November 4th.
Well, thanks for
Election
hanging
Day,
out.
Tuesday.
And once again, if you missed it already, if you missed it earlier.
Well, thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for dealing with I told you, man. As freaking Georgia feeds are all crap. Every single Georgia debate we've watched has been terrible as far as like a feed. And we've had to had backup upon backup upon backup. It's like, do they have the internet there? I'm not totally sure. We just live in a crazy time. Red wave incoming. It certainly seems that way, you know? I mean, I think that's why they're freaking out. I mean, that's why you see Obama campaigning for people right now, because they're freaking out. They are worried that they're going to lose all their quote unquote momentum right now. You know what I mean? Have a good one. Hey, you have a good one. Bad servers. Yeah, bad servers or something, man. It's just annoying. I wish they were a lot smoother, and they didn't have a YouTube feed, which is usually a surefire bet with all this stuff. Let me look some in the chat. I'm not leaving yet. I'm hanging out for a second. But if you're leaving, peace out, man. You guys do anything? I think Stacey Abrams looked worse in this debate than she did the last debate. And maybe, I don't know if it's because the only feed I found had fart noises to her voice. But anyways, what are you going to do? What does Georgia feed and Stacey Abrams have in common? They're both unreliable, or they're both not as good as they say that they are. You're paying for something that doesn't work out well. They both full of questionable amounts of crap. Yeah. You're paying for something that you're not totally sure what you're getting. If Colorado flips red, I will be shocked and ecstatic. You and me both, Wilson. I'll be losing my mind if Colorado flip. If Colorado, Pennsylvania flip red, Arizona flip red, even though I feel like it's more likely, even still, it's not even necessarily about like it flipping red. It's that the candidates in Arizona are so great. Not as much Pennsylvania. I do like Maestro way more than Dr. Oz, but it's just like Dr. Oz is way less of an insane person as Fetterman. Even though I did agree with like a couple of points that Fetterman said in the debate when he started talking about China as our biggest threat and stuff like that. It's refreshing to hear, because I swear to God, I hear so many people say that Russia is our biggest threat. It's like the stupidest thing ever. As if, yeah, Russia is going around the world and doing infrastructure for all third world countries to get on their good side. All right. Stacey Abrams supports a lot of evil stuff. Her whole thing is abortion. That's the whole Democratic position right now, is abortion. You can't run on the economy, obviously. You're not going to run on foreign policy. You're not going to run on the border because you want the border to be completely open. So their whole push is abortion because they feel like it's the only winning issue of a women's right to choose. It's so funny listening to them talk about a women's right to choose, like the whole time in light of COVID-19. They would have never said the same thing for vaccines and stuff like that. But what do you think? BKL, what do you think about the Pelosi issue? I think, same as my podcast I did before, I think there's a lot more information we don't know about. There's too many fishy details, and so I'm not going to jump the boat on anything. I'm just going to wait for the details to pan out and let all the people that just assume or have the secret scoop or the inside know. I'm going to let them look stupid, and then I'll just slide in. You know what I mean? Land Deals, what's up? I've never seen you in chat. I hope you're doing good. Fat Shane Lizzo. Fat Chance. I like Fat Shane. Fat Shane Lizzo wins. Fat Chance. There's no way. But you never know. I mean, if people are talking about Fetterman potentially winning, which I would think would be insane at this point, it would be stupid. China isn't part of the Trilateral Commission. We rely on each other to grow the war. Each other too much to go in war. Yeah, I don't think we'll ever go to war. The war we're having with China is fentanyl and economic. It's not actual boots on the ground. I don't know if it'll ever get to that point. You never know with Taiwan though. You never know. We'll probably do the same thing as like Britain did to Hong Kong. You know, we'll defend you. Maybe not. Paul is not an LGBTQ member. He is the leader. Yeah. I don't know. There's so many conspiracies right now when it goes to Paul Pelosi about his friend. It's just so much. And everything I've read on it, it just seems like everyone thinks that they know what happened. I'm not totally sure. And it's going to be one of those things we probably will never get down to the bottom of, but we can just have fun with. Nancy Pelosi is going to freeze her head and keep it in Stacey's chamber underneath Magic Kingdom. Well, Nancy Pelosi is a princess, so what are you going to do? Will's Chords, appreciate the debate. Analysts bro sent you the coffee. Hey, thank you so much, man. It means so much to me. I need to add this. I need to add this to... hold on. Willie, I always appreciate you supporting my channel, man. It means a lot to me, especially because one day I hope to make it as legit. Let's see, what is this? Stream social. Okay, hold on. I'll go back to your chats in a second. Social. Okay, cool. No, not social. Okay. Oh, support. Okay. Sorry, support, perfect. I need to add this. So when you send super chats, it's supposed to pop up like a super chat, but I'm not totally sure how it's supposed to work. Yeah, because the goal is the one day to do this for a living. So I appreciate it. Center Mo. China economy is falling apart, supposedly. I don't know if with our little lockdowns, Masa, you would think that would happen, but I'm not totally sure. China is willing to kill everyone in order to make economic gains. So you have that going for them. And what obviously would never happen here because that would be insane. Lizzo ain't running anywhere any much less in Georgia. For real. Queer stuff. I like how you spelled KWEER. China wants economic war, and shooting a war would be a waste of time. Yes. And the whole fentanyl thing. People fentanyl is the biggest issue. It's the number one killer for people 18 to 34 or 40 something. It's one of the biggest killers. And people are just like, let's not talk about it. Let's not have a conversation. Even though we spent years locking down that had a way less of a death rate than fentanyl does. The real estate market there is in bad shape. 70% of wealth of citizens are tied up in real estate. Are you talking about China? I believe it. China created a bunch of really badly built apartments and condos and stuff like that they just recently got rid of. Russia's military isn't as advanced as we were led to believe. Yeah, no way. Is China strong economically, or as they are saying? Like I said, China's economy is their strength of how many people actually are a part of that country. And they're willing to kill and starve people in order for them to have power, and which you would never have here. So that's their economy is tied up in how many people are willing to do the work in order to survive. Russia always has a nuke, though. Don't forget that. We are sent our manufacturing jobs out there to tame their inflation. The fact that we don't manufacture things here is insane. I just recently bought some pants from Jocko Willink Origin company that's all made in America. Awesome pants. They're a little too baggy. I got to get them hemmed or something. But I recommend trying to buy American as much as you possibly can. Smoke and mirrors with a dash of fear. It's all about fear, man. You know what I mean? Fear is like one of the most powerful emotions, and it makes people like you, even you and me, do crazy things that we would never expect to do. So if you're in power, you use fear as much as you possibly can. That's why you have all these candidates constantly try to stoke and encourage fear within you to drive you to the polls to vote, because they're not concerned about your well-being. They're more concerned about them staying in power. China and Russia are working with Saudi Arabia to destroy the dollar. Yeah, if they do that, then we don't need. They don't need a shooting war. They win automatically by owning the world oil economy. It's amazing how many politicians are willing to not only cripple Americans but make us energy independent on these, countries that we would profess not to have the same values as us, especially the same people that pretend that they're all about equality. They don't need to do that. Biden's destroying on his own. Exactly. Biden's essentially a stroke patient. What's one more? Yeah. Well, Biden's 80 years old. He's losing it. It happens to everyone when they get old. Some people are just gifted with better brains, but this is just another reason. There should be an age limit to running, or at least you should have to pass a cognitive exam. A real one, not like a fake one. Like my doctor okays it. If we manufacture more good and export oil, they would have no chance of destroying our dollar. Exactly. I mean, it's so easy. It's ridiculous. They act like the only way is to support green energy. No. You made it, bro. You're legit. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I'm trying to be legit. I am legit. That's right. Fake it till you make it. Believe in yourself. Ghost apartment towers, I've seen them. Massive towers, two or three lights on. Exactly. Yeah, I've seen a lot of those videos. I watch a couple of guys who are all about Chinese real estate. It was kind of insane how many cities they walked around that were just completely empty. The problem is that the U.S. doesn't manufacture much. China manufactures anything. The biggest thing that China manufactures, not only just like a lot of stuff, but a lot of our drugs that we use, like heart pills and stuff, which most Americans are on because we're all fat. That we need to start manufacturing, exploiting. Sorry, I saw that. Big pharma vax makers just admitted the EU hearing they never tested. Yep, that's true. Land deals. Yet the CDC, Fauci, Biden administration. I'm sorry, I can't. I have to mumble some of your chats. Never media outlets, Brennan. Sorry, Grandma. Exactly. It's going to take years for us to finally get down to the bottom of a lot of that big pharma. Even though Biden says that he defeated big pharma, whatever that means. The only problem that would take years is so much red tape regarding domestic drilling. We don't have the resources needed to manufacture and ship. It's not necessarily the resources. It's resources and land permits. We have too many lands that are rich in oil that we refuse to drill on for good reasons or not good reasons, and that's debatable. But the fact is that we're willing to cripple you and me, and that's a problem. And that should be a problem. Better start soon. China is itching to get one up. China has the one up on us, man. I mean, they're willing to, again, lock down their citizens in order to remain in power. That just shows you how insane they are. Things you can never do here, thank God, due to checks and balances. We are just exporting a ton of oil 2 years ago, deregulate the industry, and it will be all right. It's all just speculate. Exactly, Mansa. And of course, Saudi Arabia is has all the right in the world to be like, you know what? We're going to decrease our oil output, therefore pumping up the oil price and making more money. I would do that as a company. Wouldn't you? I mean, if you corner the market and you just say, you know what? I'm the only supplier. Cool. You don't want to go to Venezuela for all obvious reasons, but you'll come here for some weird reason. Do whatever you want. Big Pharma donated Biden something like Pfizer drug companies donate to candidates all the time, including Republicans. That's only because they had to move faster than the speed of science. Fun fact, the speed of science moves slower than panda in heat. Dude, the speed of science. Operation Warp Speed is so ridiculous. It's almost as ridiculous as this video. I feel like we gotta watch a video to cleanse what just happened in that debate.
Yes. When you talk to a family member, you'll always know. Yes. When you talk to a family member, when you start a case, you'll know if this person is dead or alive. Every time. Yes. Does this girl look familiar to you?
Yes, she does. I worked this case.
This is a girl who you said was beaten and killed.
Okay.
This little girl is me. And you told somebody that she's dead.
Wait a minute. You didn't disappear?
I'm right here.
Well, that's interesting, isn't it?
Just a palate cleanser. It also doesn't help that the leader of the free world openly insulted Saudi royalty. Yeah. It's kind of the same thing with our tariffs on China, and all of a sudden there was a global pandemic. It makes you wonder. That's only because they had to, if oil and gas are not renewable energy, how do they keep finding more of it? And seems like the supply never runs out. Is there such thing as renewable energy besides, nuclear? Even that is going to have its drawbacks with heating up oceans, heating up water, because you have to bring in cool water to cool it down, and then you have hot water coming out. I mean, there's no perfect energy out there. I know they like to pretend like green energy is the perfect energy. It's not. There's going to be drawbacks. Solar panels are going to go bad. That we're going to have to find more rare earth minerals to dig up and create them. Also with batteries and stuff like that. Where do we put these things? Well, just, if you look up especially some of our computers and electronics, where they go when they are dumped, there's like crazy articles where there are like these huge pits in Africa where people dump your old computers and stuff like that because you can't recycle. They just like go into the earth. It's insane. They go into the water supply there. It doesn't have the when is the Smiley debate? Is that tonight too? I don't know. I wasn't really interested in that debate as much as I was interested in this debate. I think the Smiley debate was happening like right now. Human innovation and new. We'll solve our problem. If we would just allow like free companies to be free and allow them to create for us, and then we just, whatever's the cheapest or whatever's the best product we were able to buy, if we were actually able to live in a capitalist society, we'd be so much better off. I know people just like immediately assume that means, all the world's going to end and people are not going to care where the money goes and stuff like that. There's no way. Let's see. What is going on? I wish. Yeah, let me look up this Murray Smiley. I think it's happening like right now. Let's see if I can find it. Because that's the kind of stream I am. Smiley. Maybe we could find another debate channel that is just going to have insane stuff. Flying Knee TV, what's up? Russia gas $2, Mexico's $3. It's a choice. Exactly. Flying Knee. That's a great name. Yeah, Smiley's supposed to be on right now. Found it.
For families as they struggle to get through this, and that's what I'm focused on.
Thank you, Senator Murray. And we turn to our next topic of the night, that is crime and gun control. Now, according to Seattle police, last year hit a 10-year high for calls related to shootings and gunshot victims in Seattle. The city has seen a 100% increase since they started issuing its crime reports in 2012, and Seattle is not alone. According to data from the Washington Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs, crimes involving firearms are up in cities across the state. That includes Spokane, Tacoma, Pasco, and Yakima. And that leads us to our second question. This is from Erin Howard. She's a local high school student. Erin?
Thank you. What is your position on gun control to curb violence in Washington, your Second Amendment interpretation?
Senator Murray.
Yeah, Erin, thank you. That's such an important question. Everybody wants to be able to send their kids to school, to protect their small businesses, to know they can go to a mall, and to enjoy life in their neighborhoods without the threat of gun violence. We have a gun violence issue in this country. We need to absolutely focus on crime and make sure that we have the resources for police. We were able to do that in the American Rescue Plan that my opponent opposed. But we also have to address the issue of gun violence. I was really glad that the Senate, for the first time, finally passed a small piece of reducing gun violence this last summer. It took Uvalde to make that happen. We shouldn't have that kind of serious issue happen in order for us to act. I support stronger measures. I believe we should have an assault weapon ban. I believe we should have better protections for people who are trying to purchase a gun and better background checks. I believe we should ban ghost guns. I think there is a lot more we can do to make sure that we protect people in this country and we deal with the issue of violence. And I also have to say, part of what we did in the Senate was focus on the issue of mental health too. We cannot tar people with mental health that they're all going to be gun violence, but that is an equation that we need to focus on. And we are working to provide resources for our frontline personnel who are on the streets trying to help people. We don't have enough beds.
That is a fun fact,
We don't have enough
Papa.
providers. We don't have enough research on how we can actually help reduce violence.
I'm going to get another
I am working right
Zima.
now
I'll be right
with
back.
my Republican counterpart on a bill on mental health that we hope to get done by the end of this year in a few short months to help provide those resources that are so critically needed. Our country has to focus on that. But in answer to your question, I absolutely believe that there's more we can do to prevent gun violence in this country.
Thank you, Senator Murray. And Mrs. Smiley, the same question to you again from Erin. What is your position on gun control to curb violence in Washington? What is your Second Amendment interpretation?
Yes, that is such a good question. You know, I've been in all 39 counties across Washington state, and crime is plaguing Washington state everywhere I go. Our communities are less safe. Senator Murray went on the Senate floor June of 2020 and called for funds to be diverted from our police force. And if there was funding in the American Rescue Plan, why is it not working? We have less police officers per capita in Seattle. We clearly have a crime problem. I believe in protecting our Second Amendment rights while also ensuring that guns do not get in the hands of criminals. Seattle had the highest homicides they had, you know, since in 10 years. We had a blood shortage in Washington state. Our team held a blood drive to bolster that supply. Women are feeling less safe. In fact, there's not even enough cops to prosecute sexual assaults and to follow up on them. That just seems absolutely unacceptable. 30 years in the Senate, and this is where we are? Anyone can go to Patty versus Public Safety to understand her soft on crime policies that have led us to this place. We need, the bedrock of this is we need mental health reform. Absolutely. We have got to get mental health reform. I will go get that done. I have a track record of taking on big government. I took on government for my husband when he didn't have a voice and believed in something better. That's what I will do for you if you send me to the Senate. I'm not afraid to work with Democrats, Republicans to actually deliver results and ensure that our police are fully funded. At the federal level, I want to ensure that our police officers have access here in Washington state to federal grants for $5,000 retention and recruiting bonuses. We need good cops in Washington state, and we need to stand behind them so they can protect our families and our communities all over this amazing state.
100%
Thank
Wilson.
you, Mrs. Smiley. I do have a follow-up to get back to Erin's question because she did ask specifically about gun control. So do you support any other additional gun control measures?
Yeah, I would support the bill that came out of the Senate, and I think that is a good step forward. But we have a crime and a mental health issue that needs to be addressed immediately. That is the root cause of what is going on.
Okay, because I had that follow-up for Mrs. Smiley. Senator Murray, I just want to ask you to clarify your position on police funding.
Well, let me make very clear. In the American Rescue Plan, I had spoken to many of our cities and counties here who were facing a shortage of police. We put specific funds into the American Rescue Plan to help communities hire and train new officers, and that money is out there now. The vast majority of funding for police, of course, comes from our cities, but we felt that it was critical at that time that we up the amount we do from the federal government, and I was proud to support that.
Thank you, Senator Murray.
Yeah, you can only put
our next
Band-Aids on mental health
abortion.
issues.
In the debate in Spokane last week,
some you can
Senator
solve,
Murray, you said you wanted to pass a federal law to protect abortion rights. Mrs. Smiley, you said politicians should not be in a doctor's office with women and their doctors, that you are personally pro-life but respect the will of Washington. That is what you both said in the debate. This is what you posted on social media. Senator Murray had this September Facebook post claiming Mrs. Smiley supported overturning Roe v. Wade and supported Texas trigger laws banning most abortions in that state. And Mrs. Smiley, this was a tweet from you claiming Senator Murray wants no legal limits on abortion, and the post has the senator's hands, as you can see, colored red. So asking for more clarification on your positions, this is another Cairo 7 viewer, Stephen Martineau in Lewis County.
What limitations or restrictions, if any, do you support on abortion, including late-term abortions?
Mrs. Smiley, I'll have you start this, and I'll repeat it because I know it was quick and maybe a little hard to hear.
Debate is about
what,
abortion.
If any limitations do you support on abortion, including late-term abortions?
Yes, so I have been very clear about my stance. I am personally pro-life, but there's good people on both sides of the issue. And long before the unprecedented Supreme Court leak came out, I believe that it belongs with the people. I am against a federal abortion ban. I believe that it belongs here with the people. Washington State has long decided where they stand on the issue. I will not change that. I respect the will of the voters of Washington State. What I can do and what I will do is I will ensure that women have access to contraception,
no one's talking
timely,
about
affordable access, and health care.
Elon Musk owning Twitter, freedom of speech. I think these are more important issues. Call me crazy.
I feel like when women are in a place of crisis, we need to ensure that they have every resource that they need.
Oh, serious voice.
They know, should they keep that child, that it's not a ticket to poverty or a
This is
ticket
her
to a lack
I'm
of
being
education,
emotional voice.
that they don't know that there is support and help to fight for their American dream. So I respect
Does pineapple belong in pizza?
There's
There's the question.
State. If anything changes, it will be because the voters here in Washington State decided.
Thank you. Senator Murray, again, the question from Stephen Martineau. What, if any, limits do you support on abortion, including late-term abortions?
Thank you for that question, and this is a major difference between us. I believe that Roe, as the law of the land, provided a constitutional right for women to make their own health care choices about their reproductive care. They didn't have a politician in the office with them. They made that decision under the provisions of Roe.
This person looks like a third-grade teacher to me.
Their family, their doctor, and according to their faith. When
Except
the
for
decision
ranch?
to overturn Roe went into effect,
I'm putting
we
you in
immediately
timeout on
saw
chat.
states across the country put politicians into that room with that family. In fact, my opponent said she supported the Texas law that even in the cases of rape or incest, a woman cannot get access to abortion. I want to reinstate Roe at the federal level so we take politicians out of the office and we allow women again to make the healthcare choices under the provisions of Roe that were very clearly stated. Late-term abortion is a canard. Women don't make a decision at the end of their pregnancy. They do have a right to be able to make that decision according to their own needs, their own health care, their own economic needs, their own personal decisions. Look, I have talked to so many women who are just frightened today. They don't know if they can turn to a doctor. I talked to one woman from Texas, a very young woman, terrible circumstances. She couldn't even talk to her friends because she was afraid of the consequences to them. Let's put this back in the hands of people themselves. Let us not have a country that has different states with different regulations. It's impacting us here in Washington State. We have providers live in Idaho, come to Washington State to provide reproductive care who fear that when they go back home at night, they're going to get arrested. This is wrong. We need to make sure that we take this decision back out of politicians' hands at the local, state, or federal level and allow women to make their own health care choices.
Thank you, Senator Murray. Just to follow up to that, going back to Stephen's question,
especially
Senator,
as like an eighth grader,
specifically about late-term abortions. You mentioned Roe v. Wade, which is generally interpreted as viability at 23 to 24 weeks.
That's correct.
How do you stand on late-term abortion?
Well,
30 seconds here.
Very clearly, the legislation that I have introduced into the United States Senate codifies Roe as we have known it and puts us back in a place where we can make our own health care decisions. I got 49 votes on that in the Senate.
Problem with Roe v. Wade,
back
it's
with a pro-choice
objective.
We'll get
it
that
doesn't
signed into law
have
and get your protections
a certain weeks.
And Mrs. Smiley,
and that's why they never
will
tell you.
Again, this will have 30 seconds
they draw
for you.
the line.
But you say you respect the will of Washingtonians. Other trigger laws restricting abortion rights, like in Texas, have gone into effect without voter approval. The polls have shown that voters generally support more abortion rights than those laws allow. So how would you measure the will of Washington voters?
No, Massa, you're not fat like us.
Well, there is one
we put ranch on our pizza.
And it's Senator Murray, because if she had it her way, politicians would be involved, and it would be taxpayer-funded abortion on demand all the way up to the point of birth, and her voting record reflects that. So I think it's important.
Exactly, Wilson.
Yes,
and we read it on this program. Don't forget that.
There are parts of the Texas law I do not like, and I was clear about that. So it belongs with the people. So the people in those states will decide and vote what is best. I respect the will of the voters here in Washington State, and I will fight to ensure that women have every resource that they need going forward.
Just further clarification, though, because Texans did not vote on that measure, does that mean that you do not support that the trigger laws went into effect?
Well, they will bring it up and change the laws. The people will in their state legislations. It belongs with the people. Senator Murray does believe it belongs with politicians.
Sorry, I was just looking for that clarification. I appreciate it.
I'm just going through the messages that I have to allow.
Many of our younger voters. Last week, a federal appeals court issued a stay to temporarily block President Biden's plan to cancel billions of dollars in student loan debt. Now, this would affect about 22 million people, and million more students preparing for college are thinking about it right now. That includes first-time voter Andrew Byer. He's a Seattle area high school student, and Andrew has our next question. Andrew?
Thank you. Do you support President Biden's plan for student loan debt relief? If not, what would be your alternative plan?
Senator Murray.
Andrew, thank you for that question, and I think this is so critical. Making sure that people have access to get the skills they need to provide for their family and their future is absolutely critical. And as a country, we have to make sure they can do that. In answer to your question, yes, I do support the steps that President Biden took. I have talked to too many people who, during these challenging times, cannot buy a house, cannot buy a car. Some decide not even to have a family because they can't afford to pay back their student loan. Part of this occurred because of the economic crisis.
No, people aren't having a family because of inflation and housing prices. Get it right. Barbecue on chicken pizza.
Put less money into colleges. And as a result, colleges and universities raised their tuition, and students started taking out too much loans. So the real answer to this question is yes, we needed to do this so people had cash.
Have a good night, Wilson. See you, man.
We need to reevaluate how we pay for colleges and how we make sure that states are putting funds into that. I'm actually working on a bipartisan proposal to re-incentivize states to invest in education, which will lower the tuition cost.
Subsidized.
And I also strongly believe we need to revamp our student loan repayment system. I actually have legislation. I am working on this. I believe that too many people are defaulting. It's too confusing. Banks are changing their systems and People can't even track their loans. So yes, I believe that the president did the right thing, and my commitment is to lower the cost of colleges and universities so we don't find ourselves in this
Messy
again.
Mike hates small
businesses.
businesses.
As chair of the Health Committee, I'm very proud that I doubled the Pell Grant, and that will go into effect beginning this year to help students.
Because they were forced to close. Don't forget that, Messy Mike. They were forced to.
Student who wants to go to college to be able to do it. When I grew up,
keep the
my
talking
dad
points
had MS.
going.
He lost his job. Every one of the 7 kids in my family were able to go to school because we had our country at our back.
Thank you.
I promise to be a senator who fights for a country at your
Appreciate it,
back.
Senator Murray. Mrs. Smiley, the question again to you. Do you support President Biden's plan for student loan debt relief? And if not, what would be your alternative plan?
Yeah, well, first, we're heading into a recession, and Senator Murray is all for this, going on the backs of hardworking Washington families. At a time when we can't afford groceries and gas, she voted to raise gas. She voted to raise gas prices, and now here we are having to pay. We're asking electricians, plumbers, construction workers to pay for someone else's college degree. It's unfair. And I think it goes back, we need to ensure that our kids, our education system here in Washington State, that we decrease the stigma that college is for everyone. We need to expose our kids to trade at a much younger age. There are multiple pathways to the American dream. And we should have, what Senator Murray and Joe Biden did is give the green light to colleges to raise prices. I mean, this has got to be fixed. I remember I talked with a father in Vancouver because of the looming recession. He's now working well into retirement age. He paid for 4 of his kids' college degree. And he's asking, how much longer do I have to work? And now I'm paying for everyone else's. We have got to fix this issue. Senator Murray's had 30 years. 30 years. I will go get it done and ensure that our college system is fixed.
What's the deal with the close-up on the audience?
That colleges have, that they ensure that these children who are getting degrees have a job. This should not be on the backs of hardworking Washingtonians. That's certainly what I'm fighting for. I will go take on D.C. Of course, Senator Murray went along with it because it was good and it was a political season. It was the Washington, D.C. thing to do. Senator Murray's not the mom in tennis shoes anymore. We cannot afford another 6 years going forward. I certainly will ensure that we expose our kids to multiple pathways to the American dream and fix the system within our colleges so college is affordable and that kids are getting good degrees where they can get a job.
Mrs. Smiley, I'm sorry, a follow-up. So I think I know your answer to the first part of Andrew's question, which is that you do not support the president's plan for student loan debt relief. But what is your alternative plan? That was the second part of his question.
Well, I also know a way to get free education in this country as well, and it's called service to our country. So what I would like to see is these kids also have an opportunity to serve our country in repayment for the loans that they are getting, to understand our country and to work within it and understand why we are so great as the United States of America. That's something I'd be supportive of.
Thank you, Mrs. Smiley. And to clarify with you, Senator Murray,
exactly.
You were
the
talking
debt
about
goes on to everyone else.
To invest
it's
more
not free
in our
money.
college systems. Want to make sure that's incentivizing, not penalizing.
It's paid for. Our plan is to provide additional support for states who put more money into higher education, taking the burden off the back of the students. I believe as a country, we all need to be there to help make sure our people get the skills that they need for whatever that they choose. And by the way, one other thing that I support is free community college, to take that tuition out as a barrier for students who are trying to access education.
Thank you both for your answers. Turning now to the war in Ukraine. Friday, the Associated Press reported the Pentagon is sending another $275 million worth of weapons and other aid to Ukraine. And that is to bolster efforts to get Russian forces out of key areas in the south before winter sets in. The total amount of U.S. funding is about $17 billion right now. That includes some equipment and systems that may not be delivered for up to 2 years. That is the backdrop right now to our next question. It's from Mary Taylor. She's a resident of Phinney Ridge. Mary?
If elected, will you support the continuation of aid and assistance to Ukraine at the current level?
Mrs. Smiley, you first.
Yes, well, first, we shouldn't even be in this position. President Biden and Senator Murray went along with the failed departure in Afghanistan. that killed 13 service members, set back women and children in Afghanistan decades, and emboldened the evils of this world to take action. Putin saw weakness on the world stage and began to make movements. We should have been tougher on Putin in the very beginning. But unfortunately, when you take max out donations from the Nord Stream 2 pipeline lobbyists, you don't want to sanction
Get
Putin
started
and
on
be
Ukraine,
tough on
Papa.
him. We need strength on the world stage. We need to ensure that our NATO allies are coming together in support. In the beginning, we should have got them everything that they needed. Ukraine knows how to fight. They will protect themselves. So we need to ensure with our NATO allies that we are giving them everything that they need to fight and win this war against Putin. And we need to ensure that we show strength on the world stage. Families all across Washington state will never forget the failed departure out of Afghanistan. Our family certainly won't.
She's using
And
that
we have
emotional
real
card
issues
pretty
around
hard.
the world threatening our national security. Senator Murray just goes right along because she works for Washington, D.C. It's time that Washington state had someone that worked for them. I have a track
people
record
pretend
of
like
taking
Afghanistan
on big
never
government
happened.
and winning.
It's like
we
Vietnam.
need to ensure that we
forget
are
about it.
the shiny beacon
We messed up.
on a hill in this country.
Senator Murray, the same question to you from Mary. If elected, will you support the continuation of aid and assistance to Ukraine at the current level?
Thank you for that question. And I think it's really important to go back to something we were talking about earlier today, a democracy, and how we make sure that we support this democracy.
Is that better?
And by standing up for the principles we believe in. I am so impressed with Ukraine and President Zelensky. They are fighting an aggressive Putin who's coming in to try and take their democracy away. And they said, no, you
Their
are
democracy.
not. And they stood up to fight back. I think it is really important that our country back them in doing that. And I think President Biden did a really good job. He didn't just go in. He went and worked with our NATO and European allies to make sure that we went in as a united force. We do not want a war between the United States and Russia, but we want to support Ukraine and their fight for their democracy. So yes, I think it is important that we continue to show them support from this country. I don't know what the requests are going to be going forward. I hope that Putin is out soon, but between now and then, I think it's important for us both to show Ukraine that we stand with them as they fight for their democracy, but also to show our European allies that we will work with them globally to strengthen democracies around the world.
Democracy!
I just want to get back to Mary's question. Specifically, she asked, would you support the continuation of aid and assistance to Ukraine at the current level?
And it's important to note that we have supported Ukraine with the requests along with our NATO allies. I do not know what the requests will be going forward, and certainly with any requests that we get, I take my time, I look at the briefings, I look at the intelligence reports and question what it's going to be used for. To this point, I've been absolutely there. Whatever comes in front of us, I will evaluate as I do with anything. But bottom line is, we need to be there to support Ukraine in their fight for their democracy.
Mrs. Smiley, sorry, more clarification for you. If elected, will you support the continuation of aid and assistance to Ukraine at the current level?
Yes, with the help of
YouTube
our allies
censor
across
what
the
you were
country. And also,
typing,
I think
Papa.
it's important on the global stage as well. We need to back out of the awful Iran nuclear deal and stand with the women and the people of Iran, because what's happening now
Ukraine's
is
not a
Putin is
democracy.
working with Iran. It's very, very troubling. We cannot have that.
That's a lie.
Iran says if they
That's
get
like
a
saying
nuclear
we're a
weapon, they will wipe
capitalist
Israel and
country.
America off the
It's
face
just
of
not
this
true.
earth. Senator Murray votes for that. It's a problem on the international stage. We have to stand strong with Ukraine and back out of the Iran nuclear deal and stand with those people for freedom around this country, around this world.
Mrs. Smiley. We're going to move on to the next question. Now, much of the state is finally able to breathe again after another season of wildfire smoke. That's during severe drought along the West Coast. James Bernard out of Yelm says climate change is the issue behind his question.
Wildfires have been increasing in frequency and severity for some years now and devastating communities, destroying forests, and fouling the air we breathe. In light of these and other severe weather events,
the experts are talking.
What do you think are the best ways to protect the citizens of Washington from these catastrophes?
Senator Murray.
Yeah, thank you for that question.
B. Kelly,
And
you don't want Joe
climate change
Biden leading
is
us
having an
into World War III?
impact.
You'd be an
And
awesome
our
leader for it.
increased use of carbon has increased the global warming, and we are seeing the effects of that. Droughts, and our farmers have less yield, less food to sell. It's impacting their economy. It's impacting the economy all over our state and all over our country if we do not deal with climate change. I was very proud that the Senate passed the biggest investment in climate action this last summer.
Oh, God,
because
close up
we
on
have to move
people.
to a new clean economy.
We're watching
we need
you.
to reduce the amount of emissions that are in the air so that we don't continue to see these rising and extreme weather conditions that we're seeing, whether it's wildfires or flooding or drought. So yes, the first thing and important thing we're doing is moving to new clean energy technology. And by the way, some of that is being produced right here in our country.
Right.
But as we do that, we also have to invest in resiliency so that our state and our nation can survive these extreme floods and wildfires that we're seeing. That's why I was really happy in the bipartisan infrastructure bill that we put in funding for resiliency as we face climate change. Great example. I was just up in Wenatchee a few weeks ago. They have a road called the Apple Capitol Loop. It's important for their transportation infrastructure, but it provides a second route out for the people of north central Washington if there is a fire. That kind of resiliency is really critical. Another example is up in Mount Vernon where we're seeing extreme flooding, downtown streets flooded. We provided federal funds to help them build resiliency walls so that during those flooding times they could protect their downtown area.
Audience.
So these are just a few examples that we are providing funds for at the federal level.
Get a really bad angle.
To help resiliency, but we have to fight climate change. It's
never forget about the
arsonists.
arsonists.
One of us to be a part of it, and our government has to leave, and I'm proud that we are doing that.
The Earth goes through
I know
changes.
My opponent doesn't
we can all agree
the same
with
as
that.
I do here, but climate change is real. It's impacting our economy.
Climate change is real.
It's impacting our health. It's impacting every one of us.
Climate change is impacting our voting.
Smiley,
Don't forget that.
Goes to you again. This is from James. And in light of the wildfires and other severe weather events, what do you think are the best ways to protect the citizens of Washington state from these catastrophes?
Yes, I don't know why Senator Murray calls me a climate denier, because I'm not, and I was very clear about that. I'm actually honored to be endorsed by the American Conservation Coalition along with the Conservative Coalition for Climate Solutions. I believe in taking care of our planet. You know, if Senator Murray really did believe in protecting our environment, then I don't know why she sold our energy to Russia, because last time I checked, Russia doesn't have any environmental standards. She waged war on our American energy independence, which is costing our gas prices to skyrocket. It simply does not have to be this way. I have an environmental plan for recovery and reform. It includes using local management and local input for our fires. We need to manage our forests and do it in an effective way, taking the input from local government. That will reduce the massive forest fires that we're facing here in Washington state. My plan also calls for ensuring that
climate change is the reason why you can't get an abortion.
Because we do it best here in the United States of America. In addition, you know, other countries, they don't care. So if we're really protecting our planet, we need to ensure that we're doing it right here. Lowering gas prices, and then in the long term, building out an all-of-above solutions for clean energy. Because you know what? Last time I checked, 87,000 IRS agents do not change the weather. So we need to work locally with our people here, input here in Washington state to manage our forests. I think that's number one and key. We can plant more trees. And I look forward to working with the organizations and the people involved that have endorsed me and know that I will go fight for them in Washington, D.C.
Mrs. Smiley, for further clarification for you, so you do believe that humans influence climate change?
Absolutely,
oh my God.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. And Senator Murray, because we were talking about forest fires, in addition to climate change, do you also believe in forest management, and what do you support there? 30 seconds, please.
Yes, and in fact, in the bipartisan infrastructure bill, we provided additional funding for our firefighters. We need to make sure that our emergency management has more money for making sure we have enough firefighters. And yes, I do believe we need to manage our forests effectively, including
I love Washington. I used to live in Spokane.
Is part of what we have put forward. But we can't just say that, you know, forest fires will never happen if we just do that.
As they used
we
to
have
say.
a planet that is growing warmer every year.
Thank you.
More severe
Senator.
weather, and we need to do
Sorry, we have to move on to the next issue here.
Oh my
Medicare
God,
is the next topic.
What was that answer?
We received a lot of questions about this as well,
Thank you,
including
Senator.
this one
Thank you.
from Lisa
Thank
Etter,
you.
a resident
Thank you.
of Linwood. Lisa?
How are you, excuse me, how are you going to protect Medicare?
How are you going to protect Medicare?
Mrs.
I got
Smiley,
to keep
please,
my
if you would
cigarettes
start us off.
coming.
Yes, I know Senator Murray is running ads to try to scare seniors. It's not true. I will not touch anyone's benefits who are receiving or about to receive benefits. You know, we need to be able to sit
pretty in
down
some
and
areas.
come together for
Downtown's
solutions.
a little sketch.
I'm happy to work with Democrats and Republicans for the future to deliver results. Senator Murray is a proponent of Medicare for all, which we know would be Medicare for none. That is not the answer. We need to get back to the days of Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill, where you actually sit down, talk to each other,
Republicans
come
gotta
together for
stop talking
solutions,
about Ronald Reagan.
and deliver those results.
I mean, who are you talking to? You're talking about like 60 years
to
plus.
take away from anyone.
You're not talking my generation and lower.
But what you do need is your
40 and under.
costs to be lower.
Or like Ronald
you need
Reagan.
Your gas prices to be
Yeah,
lower,
I've heard good
especially
things.
those on fixed incomes. You need drug prices to be effective. Senator Murray, you know, votes for. She actually voted to stop benefits for drugs, prescription drugs for Medicare. So if she had it her way, you wouldn't get prescription drugs. We need to ensure that we have transparency and accountability, and electing leaders who will go to Washington, D.C., take it on, work with Democrats and Republicans. So
GOP stop talking about
have to
Reagan.
worry
Never.
and fear
Yeah, I
in
know.
the future.
They gotta move on.
Senator Murray, I know you have a response to that. I saw it on your face. How are you going to protect Medicare?
I'm on your side. Tell me about it.
I won't spend my time to correct all that. What I want to tell you is Medicare is one of the most important programs that we provide at the federal level, so that people, when they retire, have the ability to know that their health care will be taken care of. I'm a proud supporter of that. I will work always to make sure it is secure for the future. And one of the things that I have really focused on and passed is making sure that
there are a lot of older
people
people in Washington.
Medicare
That's a
have
fair
lower
point.
prescription drug costs. In the bill that we passed 2 months ago, that Tiffany has told you she opposes, we for the first time allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices with the pharmaceuticals, which will mean lower costs for all of us. We do that with the VA now. I have fought forever to get Medicare to be able to do that. It is now going to happen, and we will see lower prescription drug costs for our seniors. In that bill, we also capped insulin at $35 a month. That's incredibly important to seniors, and I am proud to have helped push that through. Now, I tried to get it passed for everyone. I will keep working on that. I was 2 or 3 votes
Yeah,
short
I
in
guess,
the Senate,
Mr. James, but you
believe
could
that should be
just,
for
you know,
everyone.
stick to
And
policy.
third
You don't
thing
have to
we
like
did
bring up
under
old names. You
Medicare
know what I mean?
was cap the cost
Like-
of prescription
It's like-
drugs for seniors at $2,000.
It's like me bringing
That's
up an
incredibly
Indiana
important.
Jones
I've talked to
reference.
So many
It's like-
seniors who that is going to be
that's not gonna
life-changing for
you know,
them.
the
to be
younger
able to,
generation will have no idea what I'm
afford
talking
their
about.
prescription drugs. So those are the kinds of things that
You just have
I
to know
believe
who
are
your audience
absolutely
is and
critical
talk to
do
them.
so that Medicare can be there, not just for the people who have it now or close to it, but for all of you.
Thank you both very much. I told you this audience has amazing questions. Unfortunately, we're running low on time, but to squeeze one last in, if it's all right with both
Squeeze
of you,
me, baby.
we'll ask this and you'll have 1 minute to respond to it so we can get these responses in. So as we turn now to immigration and concerns over citizenship, our next audience member is Greg Piantanita from Renton. Greg?
Where do you stand on granting citizenship to the Dreamers?
Okay, Senator Murray.
Absolutely
To the
strongly
Dreamers.
there. I absolutely
I
support.
will call them illegal
that
immigrants.
we
Just call them by
make sure that those
Dreamers.
dreamers who came here when they
Yes.
were too young to remember any other country, who we have educated, who have made sure that they get the skills they
The
need.
genius of
They
restoration.
can contribute back to our country, but now they live in fear of being returned home to a country they do
Right.
not know.
And we should
Why would
let
we
the
send
cartel do
skilled
whatever they
people,
want?
People that we have educated and trained back to a country
It's not like
inhumanely
anyone would bring
that they don't
Biden.
know. I have voted to
That's true.
protect DACA. I will continue to do that, and I believe that we should also fix our immigration system. we need a pathway to citizenship. We need a better system for asylum for those who have come here from horrific situations. Our economy benefits
people in the
by
audience
having a
are
better
boomers.
immigration system. So far, Republicans have
vote.
not been willing to negotiate with us. I welcome them with
So
open
there's
arms
that.
to fix this problem for America.
Thank you, Senator. Mrs. Smiley, the question again from Greg. Where do you stand on granting citizenship to Dreamers? 1 minute, please.
Yes, you know, they have come here no fault
All
of their
illegal
own,
immigrants.
and we owe it to them to have a pathway to legal citizenship should they wish. That's what I'll fight for. You know, 30 years in the Senate, we're still talking about immigration. We need immigration reform. We need more immigration lawyers. We need to ensure that there's a pathway to legal status in this country that works. I went down to the southern border and I saw with my own eyes what people are willing to do
Hey, that
to
black
get
man has the
across
same
the river
glasses
and
as
come
me.
into the
That's
United
what's
States
up.
of America. It's heartbreaking. It's a humanitarian crisis that's happening at our southern border. So first, I do believe we need to secure our border. We need to stop the flow of fentanyl from coming across and protect immigrants. Securing our border protects the immigrants. It is heartbreaking to see what's going on. Senator Murray refuses to address this. She's been in the Senate for 30 years
Here comes
and
Reagan
hasn't been able to get immigration reform across the aisle. I will go do that for Washington State. I will go fight for Washington State. Senator Murray only works for Washington, D.C. You know what the Border Patrol and the police officers down at the border said?
I'm
They said
sorry.
my greatest roadblock is
Mrs.
Washington,
Smiley.
D.C.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Smiley, your time is up. We do have a little bit more time, though, so I'm going to push a little bit more on Greg's question here. So you both would allow a path to citizenship for Dreamers right now. Would you allow new people to apply to qualify as Dreamers? Mrs. Smiley.
Look, first we have got to secure our border and get that under control before we dive into immigration reform. We have a humanitarian crisis. I think you heard me. There are young kids and children coming across our southern border, putting their lives at risk and coming into our country. So first and foremost, we have got to secure our border. Then I will go fight to work for immigration status. So there is a pathway for immigrants in this country that works.
Senator Murray, would you allow other people to apply as Dreamers?
Of course I would. These are talented, amazing young people. Have much to offer for our country. Their talent
are
is
amazing.
needed, and I would absolutely
Every
support
one of them
to be
is
able to get back
incredible.
up.
No gang members
Thank you both for your
whatsoever.
answers.
No
We have
terrorists,
reached
even
the
though
final few
that has
minutes
been
of tonight's town hall. Each candidate now gets
here we
90
go.
seconds for a final statement.
The final
and after another
statement.
coin toss to determine the order, Senator Murray goes first. Senator?
Well, thank you all so much for those really great questions. Thank you for participating, and to everybody who's listening from home. We've covered a great variety of topics here tonight that are critical to people, from immigration that we just talked about, to access to the ability to make your own health care decisions if you're a woman, to how we assure Medicare is there in the future. What you have heard from me is I always come home, I talk to people here, and I take their values and their priorities back to Washington, D.C. to fight for you. I think it is imperative that we have stronger gun control. It's an issue facing many Americans. I believe really strongly that we protect the right of women to make their own health care choices. I believe we need to protect our democracy by passing the voting rights legislation. These are things that I know I bring to the United States Senate to fight for your vote, to fight for your values, to fight for what's important to us, and I believe that I am the best voice to continue to do that for all of you. I'm honored to serve you in the United States Senate. I look forward to continuing to be your voice. Thank you.
Mrs. Smiley, your turn with 90 seconds, please.
Yes, at 23 years old, I resigned from my nursing job here in Washington State.
Oh, nursing
and took
job.
a one-way flight out to Walter Reed Army Medical Center.
Nice.
Where I didn't know if I was going to meet my husband dead or alive. I had student loan debt. I had a car payment. When I walked into his room, he had tubes coming out of every orifice of his body. He was in a coma. He was paralyzed on the right side of his body, and one thing was certain. The suicide bomber that he was negotiating with in service to our country in Mosul, Iraq, had detonated his car and sent shrapnel into both of his eyes. He would forever be blind. That's when my fight began. I was approached by Army officials, VA officials, and they said, sign the paperwork. Everyone signs it. I said no. I was the first person to not sign their paperwork. I believed in a greater purpose for my husband. That's what I believe for Washington State. I went back and took on VA reform and fought for every Democrat, Republican, and independent service member and their family. We see Washington State facing crisis after crisis. Senator Murray is a career politician, 30 years and only 9 pieces of legislation that she signed in. No more. Washington State deserves a fighter, someone who will
Washington
go fight
will be
and
tough
work
for the red
and
to
be
win.
the voice. I've been in all 39 counties across Washington State. I have heard your voices. I am here to deliver results, not just good intentions, but go take on Washington, D.C. for all of you. I would be deeply honored to earn your vote and be your voice, bringing our state and country together.
Thank you both so much for those closing statements. And as we have been preparing for this event here at Cairo 7, we have gotten a little peek at all the preparation that you two have to put in to run for office. So we thank you for that and for your service to our country in their own different forms. Now, that is going to wrap things up for us here tonight. A friendly reminder that election night is November 8th. So that means your ballots at home need to be postmarked or dropped into a drop box by 8 p.m.
Right.
on.
We did 2 debates tonight. I was only planning for 1, but we did 2 because, well, YOLO. You know what I mean? Oh, man. What a night. Who do you guys think? What do you do you feel like Kemp was a better candidate than Smiley for the Republicans? I'm gonna be honest. I'm not really impressed by Kemp at all. As far as like a communicator, it's kind of my thing, specialty or whatever. It's my bachelor's degree was public speaking. So it's not like I just think he was just kind of boring. It kind of makes me feel like if I was to run for any position in Georgia, I'd do just fine. The FBI is already investigating that. Are you serious, Papa? Bunch of master debaters. Yeah, man. So exactly, it was a master debate off. Yellow sounds like Ritzy Brandon Yoker. What was the first Kemp? Yeah, Kemp was the first. Kemp was Stacey Abrams. Stacey didn't look as strong as she did at the beginning. At the first debate, the first debate, she looked like she just kind of steamrolled Kemp a little bit. This debate, Kemp looked a little stronger. But you wonder, Georgia's like my home state of South Carolina, where people just vote red or blue, and they don't care about who the candidate is. It's just a matter of my side winning more than voting an actual good candidate. And that's why you get people like Lindsey Graham in office. I'm getting tired. Don't be tired. Be excited. Good performance from Smiley. Yeah, Smiley used emotions a little bit better. Republicans are really bad about learning how to use like your emotions in public speaking. And it's very important in public speaking is to use emotion and logic at the same time. I know a lot of Republicans are obsessed with not using emotions, like
facts over feelings, like I'm Ben Shapiro.
But like you have to use emotion and logic to drive home the point, because not everyone is going to resonate with logic and not everyone's going to resonate with facts. So you use emotion to pull them in with logic and facts in order to drive home your point. And it's important. I saw South Carolina governor debate. How was it? I didn't watch it. McMaster's, I feel like it's probably going to win. Besides like Charleston and Columbia, South Carolina is very red. Check out Project Veritas. I published a story on it. Okay, I will check that out tomorrow for the show tomorrow. Let's be honest, he's a dingbat. Okay, there's that. He seems like your generation Republican. He did that, of course. Who's your generation? But Stacey is worse. Yeah, Stacey's terrible. She's everything you don't want a politician to be. She's obsessed with celebrity power more than she is. She's like Beto. She'll want to host SNL before she actually help you and help me in any way possible. This debate was much better. Yeah, it seemed much better. McMaster will win, but he is not good at debating. Okay, good to know. I didn't think so. And that's what you get with a lot of Southern Republican candidates. They're comfortable. They're not challenged. They don't have to double down on their thoughts and reasons. And it's usually whoever has the most money is the candidate rather than whoever the best candidate is. I couldn't even understand McMaster at times. Okay, so it was that bad. I sent you a link article in your DM. Papa, you sliding in my DMs, you little slut. Plus, Abrams is a reptile woman. You seemed a lot more relatable than Murray. Hey, thank you. Yeah, wait. Yeah, seemed a lot more relatable. Okay, I thought you said you. See, my dyslexia pops up every once in a while. Bunch of Beto males down there in Texas or Beto bears. Dude, don't knock the Beto bears, dude. That should be a shirt. We should make that a shirt. Don't forget that we'll have the election stream going super late into the night. We'll have a lot of fun with that. But look out for my stream tomorrow. I will probably be streaming a little earlier than normal because I have work a little later because this isn't my full-time job. Unfortunately, fortunately, whatever. So I'll be streaming at a different time, so look out for that. But I hope you guys have like an awesome day and a good night. Enjoy your Sunday. Crowder beat you to it? Oh yeah, I saw that Crowder bit. That was not good. I feel like Steven Crowder's kind of going down a little bit. I haven't really been impressed with a lot of his show lately. No offense to Steven Crowder. I did apply to work there and they rejected me, so you seem like you too, man. Stacy will spend more time at lunch and on taxpayers' dimes than on anything else. Well, she'll have to be on diners, drives, and dives. Do you guys like this hat I put on Kemp? Sorry, girls, I'm gay. Crowder is overrated. I used to love Crowder, and I don't know. I saw him live this summer. It was okay. Dave Landau is much funnier as a comedian. Have a good night. Hey, you have a good night too, man. But I appreciate every single one of you guys. Chow Mein, still better than a bunch of crap, and most of it, he got canceled again on YouTube. I saw that. He is better than a lot of other crap. There is a lot of shows on YouTube. Like, I do a lot of research for this show. I watch Twitch streams. I watch other YouTube streams, and I just don't want to be. And there are just so many boring streams out there, and I'm just like, this. How is this possible that these people are watching this? So Crowder is not that. He obviously has a million people pressing the buttons, and I obviously have just me and my mouse. And no one's helping me with this show. No one's writing scripts for me, or no one's researching stuff for me. It's all off the cuff. And again, if you're new here, we do a live show almost every day of the week except for Wednesday. And we check out the highlights of the news, and we try to laugh our way through everything because it's better to laugh than go nuts about other. He's a bit juvenile. Yeah. I mean, and so am I. To a certain extent. I try not to be as comedic or silly when it's like dealing with real pain with people, and that's kind of where I draw the line. If someone was to come on my show, I'm not going to make fun of them. I'm not going to mock them and stuff like that. I want to hear their true voice, and so that's kind of like the difference between me. Is like I'll mock politicians and corporate media, but when it comes to real people, I just struggle with that because you never know if someone's having a shitty day. You never know. Double clicking the mouse. Yeah, I do that a lot. Hat belongs on Graham. That's probably true. That's probably true. Lindsey Graham, is that what you're talking about? I feel like that should be a real hat. I think it is a real hat. I was like looking up silly hats to put on these two people, and I just saw that. Sometimes like something comes to me in the middle of the night, and it just makes me laugh, and I do it on here. So sometimes it's a hitter, sometimes it's a miss. You never know. But I hope you guys have a fantastic night. Find somebody you love in your life to make their day a little bit better. Serve somebody, make somebody happy. I appreciate every single one of you guys. You guys are the best people on earth. I appreciate every single one of you guys for getting in the chat. Mansa West, I always appreciate Land Deals. Thank you so much for being here. Mr. James, I thank you so much. You're right atop Lindsay's crown. Yeah, exactly. Papa, I always appreciate you. Pancakes Rock, thank you so much. I'm excited that you're a part of this stream now. Censor Mom, you're the best. I want to make sure I hit everything. Willie, as always, thank you so much for supporting my show and giving money. I know, like, I appreciate it. Even if you give $1, it means so much to me. B. Kel, thank you so much. Find It, Fix It, thanks so much. Wilson, you're the best. I just appreciate every single one of you. I want to make sure I got everything, got everyone. Keep up the good work. Hey, thanks so much. Appreciate it. I try to put a lot of time into this. Obviously, I do a lot of research, and I also just put a lot of time into this, and I work a full-time job as well, so you never know. Sometimes it's hit or miss because I'm tired, but you guys get to experience me on my highs and lows of just life. You know what I mean? So have a great day. Appreciate every single one of you. You guys are awesome. I'll catch you tomorrow. Sorry, hot guy wasn't here. Censored mom.